Welcome to the Fantasy Audiobook. I'm in 4th Division. Draw sword and become stronger. Chapter 31. Asaba, you're welcome, you can attack. Since Senpei isn't Shikai, then I'm not Shikai either. This is the 4th Division of the medical team, and Unohana Retsu himself is watching the game. Without liberating Zanpakuto, Asaba pulled out Zanpakuto with all his strength and slashed at Asano Fuji with a sword pressure. Puff! Asano Fuji was shot flying, and then fell to the ground with a bang. I admit defeat. Katetsu Azane immediately stepped forward to treat Asano Fuji, and Asaba also came to Asano Fuji. Senior Fuji, I'm sorry. Asano Fuji raised his hand and gave Asaba a thumbs up, thank you for doing your best. Asano Fuji felt that he received Asaba's respect, he felt that was enough, he was not good at fighting, and losing to Asaba was not ashamed. Asaba, our 4th Division, as a treatment team, plays a crucial role in Gotei's 13th Division. But Shinigami of our 4th Division has always been looked down upon by Shinigami of the other divisions because he is not good at fighting. Now it's up to you to join my 4th Division, our 4th Division can finally get rid of the label of not being able to fight. Asaba, we rely on you to support the battlefront of our 4th Division. Senior Fuji, don't worry, I will work hard. Asaba saw Asano Fuji, who was lying on the ground after being seriously injured by him and was being treated by Katetsu Azane, said these words, and then looked at the expectant eyes of the rest of the 4th Division Shinigami. Why does Asaba think this is a bit provocative? In fact, the captains, vice-captains and officers of the other divisions of Gotei 13th Division never looked down on the 4th Division, but respected them. The ones who really look down on the 4th Division Shinigami are the ordinary players who don't have much ability. Of course, out of all the Shinigami in Gotei 13, those general soldiers who are not very skilled account for almost 90%. That's why Asano Fuji said such sensational words to Asaba, who easily defeated him. Unohana Retsu clapped his hands and said, Asaba, from today onwards, you will be the 3rd seat officer of our 4th Division, but you don't have to be responsible for anything. Your mission is only one, and that is to keep getting stronger. Shinigami of the 4th Division nodded firmly. Asaba, our 4th Division depends on you. Unohana Retsu said to Asano, who was lying on the ground again, Fuji, you are now automatically relegated to the 4th seat, your position remains unchanged, and you will continue to be responsible for all your previous work. In addition to being the 3rd seat, Asano Fuji is also the squad leader of the 1st level ambulance squad. The positions of the remaining officers will also automatically retire to 1, and the same positions will remain unchanged, and continue to be responsible for your previous work. That's all. Asaba became the 3rd seat of the 4th team. But Asaba doesn't have to be responsible for anything in the 4th team, he just needs to work hard to become stronger. In Asaba's single courtyard. Asaba, when you were at the True Central Academy of Spiritual Arts, you didn't learn to cut fists and walk away ghosts. Starting today, I will take time to teach you about cutting fists and ghosts every day. Captain, within this month, I want to learn Kendo first, and the rest of the skills, I want to wait a month before learning slowly. Unohana Retsu drew out Zanpakuto and nodded. Kendo is the most basic of the 4 skills of slashing fists and walking ghosts. It is the easiest to get started with, but the hardest to become a true master. Since you want to learn Kendo first, let's start now. Good. Asaba also pulled out Zanpakuto. Unohana Retsu's Kendo is definitely number 1 in Soul Society. She has mastered all the Kendo genres of Soul Society, and her Kendo level of all genres has reached the highest level of Soul Society Kendo, 10th Dan. Asaba, attack me. That's all. Unohana Retsu spends 2 to 3 hours a day teaching Asaba Kendo. For the rest of the time, Asaba has been drawing his sword to become stronger in addition to eating, sleeping, and resting. Time passed slowly. Successful drawing of the knife, Reiatsu plus 0.3. Host successfully draws his sword 1,000,000 times and gets the reward for drawing the sword, Shikai Form 2. After Asaba heard the system prompt, the secret passage sure did. Asaba had previously guessed that his Shikai might be more than one form of Qinglong. Now, Asaba is rewarded with the 2nd form of Shikai, confirming Asaba's previous speculation. After Asaba received the reward, he immediately entered the Sword Zen space. After Asaba entered the sword Zen space, he once again came to the void space he had seen before. But, at this time, in this empty space, in addition to the light in the east, the light in the west is also shining. Host casts his mind on the light and enters the corresponding space. After Asaba was prompted by the system, he turned his attention to the newly illuminated due west. Same as last time, Asaba only felt that his eyes were bright, and he was sucked in by the light of the due west position. When Asaba recovered his vision, he had already come to the space of the due west position. This is a deep forest, and Asaba is in the middle of the forest at this time. In front of Asaba, a white tiger was curling up on a boulder to rest. After Asaba appeared, the white tiger opened his eyes. Are you the master I've been waiting for a long time? Unlike the blue dragon, the white tiger is self-aware of its own identity. Can you tell me your real name? After Baihu yawned, he stood up. If you want to know my real name, try to hurt me with the power of your master's blue dragon. The white tiger waved its paws at Asaba as he spoke, and a Zanpakuto with lightning bolts all over his body appeared in front of Asaba. It is the Qinglong after liberation. Asaba reached out and held the blue dragon in his hand. He knew that this was the white tiger's test for him. After Asaba took hold of the blue dragon, the breath on his body changed, and the Reiatsu skyrocketed, until he reached the Reiatsu level of the super captain level, and then stopped. Asaba was stunned, and looked at the white tiger in front of him in confusion. Baihu said, "Your original strength is too weak. I will temporarily lend you my strength. You can fight with all your strength. When you fight with me, the consumed spiritual power will be replenished immediately." When Asaba heard Baihu's words, a word appeared in his mind: infinite firepower. Asaba held the blue dragon and slashed towards the white tiger in front of him. The white tiger looks like a huge body, and somehow dexterously dodged Asaba's attack. Asaba continued to attack the white tiger, but was easily avoided by the white tiger every time. Asaba wondered, was he too slow? Asaba looked at the white tiger who had almost stayed on the boulder and never left, and the speed of the white tiger was not fast. Baihu saw Asaba's doubts and explained, "In my domain, I can sense all incoming attacks." "I see. This is the white tiger's space, so it is all within the white tiger's domain." White tiger can easily dodge Asaba's attack every time. It's not that Asaba's speed is slow, and it's not that white tiger's speed is fast. Rather, the white tiger sensed Asaba's attack in advance. If you can't hit the white tiger, how can you hurt the white tiger and complete the white tiger's test? Suddenly, the voice of Qinglong sounded in Asaba's mind. "Asaba, is this the only power I have? Close your eyes and feel the power of lightning with your heart." Asaba grabbed the handle of the Qinglong sword and closed his eyes. I don't know how long has passed, maybe many years, maybe only a moment. Asaba suddenly thought through and sensed the power of thunder and lightning wrapped around the blue dragon in his hand. Asaba opened his eyes, then raised the blue dragon high, and slashed towards the white tiger. 9 days of thunder. Boom. When the blue dragon was beheaded by Asaba, countless thunderbolts suddenly fell on the white tiger from the sky. PFF'd. PFF'd. ... What if the white tiger could perceive the upcoming attack? At this time, the entire white tiger space was covered with lightning, and the white tiger had nowhere to hide. Of course, Asaba is able to launch such an attack because he now has a super captain level Reiatsu and is in a state of infinite firepower. If he leaves the white tiger space, Asaba uses the move he just learned in the Shikai state of Qinglong, Jutian Thunderbolt. Until Asaba's Reiatsu improves to a sufficient level, it is impossible to achieve the effect at this time. After being hit by lightning continuously, the white tiger froze, and the paralyzing effect of the blue dragon was activated. Asaba seized the opportunity to step forward and slashed towards the white tiger with all his strength. The moment the blue dragon hit the white tiger in Asaba's hands, the thunder and lightning all over the white tiger's space disappeared. The blue dragon in Asaba's hand also disappeared. When Asaba was puzzled, the voice of the white tiger sounded. "My ability is to control tornadoes. My name is White Tiger." The white tiger told Asaba its real name, saying that Asaba had completed its test. Asaba opened his eyes and withdrew from the sword Zen space. Asaba picked up Zanpakuto, who was lying across his knees, and stood up and went out into the courtyard. Asaba pulls the Zanpakuto out of the scabbard with his right hand, then holds it with his backhand so that the point of the knife is pointing down, and catches it with his left hand, so that the point of the knife points forward. Let's walk on the wind. White tiger. Immediately, a small storm rolled up around Asaba. By the time the storm dissipated, the zanpakuto in Asaba's hands had changed form. The hilt held by Asaba has a tiger pattern on it. The knife and tan are in the shape of a king. The blade, which was originally transparent, turned completely white. Likewise, Asaba's reiatsu has tripled. Also, Asaba can form a wind field by releasing and continuously consuming reiatsu. In Asaba's wind field, the opponent will not be affected in any way, but Asaba can perceive all the opponent's attacks in advance. That is the ability that the white tiger showed when facing Asaba. In addition to the wind field, when Asaba uses the liberated white tiger to attack, he can hit the target multiple times and can reduce all defenses of the opponent. However, the reduced defense is only effective against Asaba's own attacks. That is, if Asaba liberates the white tiger and fights Zaraki Kenpachi. If Zaraki Kenpachi is hit multiple times by Asaba, his reiatsu defense will still be effective against others, but will be useless against Asaba. The Azure Dragon strengthens its power, and hitting the target multiple times will paralyze the target. The white tiger breaks the defense, hitting the target multiple times to reduce the target's defense. After Asaba drew his sword 1,000,000 times, in addition to drawing the sword to get another Shikai form reward, he also learned a new move of the Qinglong Shikai form, Jutian Lidong. 9-Day Thunder is similar to Kurosaki Ichigo's Crescent Moon, which is an exclusive skill of Asaba Zanpakuto. After I entered the Dao Zen space, I entered a void space. Now the east and west directions of the void space have been lit up, corresponding to the blue dragon and white tiger respectively. The north and south positions are still left unlit, that is to say, my Zanpakuto should still have 2 Shikai forms, corresponding to Suzaku Shuangwu. Kusajishi Yakiru's Zanpakuto is called the 3-step beast, isn't my Zanpakuto the 4 holy beasts? Knowing that his Zanpakuto has 4 different forms, Asaba knows that he hasn't actually liberated his Zanpakuto real name yet. Maybe, when I release the 4 forms, I will truly release my Zanpakuto real name. Asaba's Zanpakuto has 4 different forms, each corresponding to different abilities. This is unprecedented in Soul Society history, and there may not be a second Zanpakuto of its kind in the future. I don't know if I can defuse Aizen Sosuke's Kyoka Suigetsu in my wind field after I liberate the white tiger. The 5th Division Captain's Room. Aizen Sosuke put down the pen in his hand and looked at Hinamori Momo and Naoko who were standing at the table. Naoko told Hinamori Momo what happened to her best friend Miko. Hinamori Momo, with the heart of the virgin, immediately took Naoko to Aizen Sosuke, and then told Aizen Sosuke about Miko. Aizen Sosuke was thinking about how to get rid of Asaba, which might affect his next plan of existence. Naoko brought it to the door herself. Under Naoko's expectant gaze, Aizen Sosuke spoke up. Naoko, first of all, I regret what happened to your best friend Miko. Then, I want to say sorry to you. Naoko said. Captain Aizen, why do you apologize to me? All this has nothing to do with you. Aizen Sosuke shook his head with a hint of guilt on his face. Originally, the soul burial practice between you and Miko was supposed to be led by Dao. Hinamori Momo next to Naoko said, yes, it was originally my turn to take you to Karakura town for the soul burial practice. The captain of the 4th Division found Captain Aizen and asked the leader to be the 4th Division, so only temporarily changed to the deputy captain of the 4th Division to lead the team. Aizen Sosuke said, as we all know, the 4th Division is a medical team, and fighting is not their specialty, so it is understandable that your team leader Kotetsu Azane didn't arrive in time for rescue. If I didn't agree to the request of the 4th Division captain and let Momo lead the team, Miko's tragedy might not have happened. After Aizen Sosuke so fanned the flames. In Naoko's heart now, she remembered the scene where Kotetsu Azane invited Asaba to join the team with a smile at the scene of Miko's accident, and she hated Asaba's 4th Division. Naoko bowed to Aizen Sosuke. Captain Aizen, Miko was killed by Asaba and the vice captain of the 4th Division. Please ask Captain Aizen to do justice for Miko. Hinamori Momo also bent down and said, Captain Aizen, Naoko is just an ordinary member of our 5th Division, and can't fight with the 4th Division. Only you can help her. Seeing that Naoko and Hinamori Momo's emotions were successfully dominated by him, Aizen Sosuke raised his eyes, and there was a hint of cunning in his eyes. Naoko, it's not that I won't help you, but there is no evidence. Did you just let Asaba and Katetsu Azane go? Naoko raised her head reluctantly. Naoko, although I can't help you directly, but I can show you a way. The next day, Naoko arrived at the entrance of Central 46 and blocked Central 46, who was about to enter the lower hall of the Central Conference for a meeting. Central 46 is the highest judicial body of the Soul Society, consisting of 40 sages and 6 inquisitors. The guilty people in cases of the Soul Society are judged by them. Naoko, following Aizen Sosuke's instructions, lodged a complaint about the Miko incident with Central 46, hoping that Central 46 will punish Asaba and Katetsu Azane of the 4th Division. It's a pity that the people from Central 46 saw that Naoko was born in Rukongai, and now he is just a general team member of the 5th Division. The people at Central 46 ignored Naoko at all and asked Shinigami, the first team in charge of their safety, to drive Naoko out of the Central Underground Assembly Hall. Naoko failed to get Asaba and Katetsu Azane penalized through Central 46. However, her suggestion to Central 46 to try Asaba and Katetsu Azane spread throughout Seraiti within a day. Of course, it was Aizen Sosuke behind the wheel that the news spread throughout Seraiti so quickly. Aizen Sosuke had long expected that the guys in Central 46 who only valued their own interests would not offend the 4th Division because of Naoko, the 3rd seed Asaba and the vice-captain Katetsu Azane. Naoko didn't know who the 4th Division Captain Unohana Retsu was, but the guys from Central 46 knew very well. Unohana Retsu was an unprecedented villain in the Soul Society before, if he really angered Unohana Retsu. The guys in Central 46 who are mature, I can't guarantee that Unohana Retsu will find them with a knife. All Aizen Sosuke has to do is let the whole Seraiti know about it and start his next plan. The 4th Division Captain's room. Unohana Retsu was seated with Asaba and Katetsu Azane standing in front of her. Captain, that Naoko wronged me and Asaba. Katetsu Azane cried. When did she Katetsu Azane suffer such grievances? It was Miko who was obviously incompetent, and after seeing Shu, she was frightened by Shu and ran away without knowing it. In Naoko's mouth, it became her Katetsu Azane and Asaba murdered Miko together. Yongyan, don't cry, I believe you are innocent. Unohana Retsu stood up and took the aggrieved Katetsu Azane into his arms, patting her back gently to comfort her. After Katetsu Azane had support, the grievance in his heart seemed to find a gap, and he burst into tears. Asaba, what the hell was going on at that time? It's not that Unohana Retsu doesn't believe in Asaba, but wants to know the truth. Asaba told the story in its entirety. So that's it, Asaba, you didn't take action to save Miko. It's really wrong, but it's not a big deal. That Naoko said that you and Yumi murdered Miko, it's too much. Shinigami of Soul Society should support each other. Asaba's behavior of seeing death and not saving it cannot be said that Asaba is guilty, but Soul Society does not advocate it. Asaba, Yongyan, don't worry, both of you, with me here, I won't let you two be wrong. Although Central 46 did not accept the Miko incident, the power of fishing reels is sometimes more terrifying. Yongyan, Asaba, you two stay in the 4th Division and don't go out until this matter is over. Unohana Retsu, this is the protection of Asaba and Katetsu Azane. After Asaba returned to his single-person courtyard, he kept drawing a knife in the courtyard. The Naoko incident, according to Unohana Retsu, is that Naoko wronged Asaba and Katetsu Azane. However, Asaba guessed that Aizen Sosuke was behind it. Asaba didn't know what Aizen Sosuke was going to do, so Asaba had to hurry up and improve his strength. That night, after Unohana Retsu cast Kido Bent Light on himself, he hid on Asaba's courtyard wall and watched Asaba, who was still drawing a knife in the courtyard at night. When applying Kido Bent Light directly, there is also a concealment effect, but Reiatsu cannot be concealed, and the sound can also be detected. Asterisk. Unohana Retsu is not here to monitor Asaba because he doesn't believe in Asaba. After Unohana Retsu learned the truth about the Miko incident, she understood Asaba's character. Knowing that Asaba is not a bad guy, Asaba will take revenge on those who bully him. Now, Asaba has been wronged by Naoko. Hana Retsu worries that Asaba won't be obedient and stay in the 4th division, and will go to Naoko to settle accounts, thus making the situation unmanageable. Hana Retsu knew that when Asaba was fine, she would draw a knife in the yard. Before, she thought that Asaba was practicing chopping because he did not learn kendo at the True Spiritual Art Academy. Now, by observing, Hana Retsu found that every time Asaba drew his sword, Reiatsu increased by a little bit. It's no wonder that Asaba was able to graduate early within a month when he was at the True Central Spiritual Arts Academy without taking a single course of slashing fists and walking ghosts. So there is such a secret. Oh, it's not really a secret. After all, when Asaba drew his sword to become stronger, he didn't do it secretly, it's just that others didn't know that he could draw a sword and become stronger. It seems that our 4th division has really picked up a treasure. Asaba can draw a sword and become stronger. Although Reiatsu, who is strengthened every time he draws a sword, is so weak that it is difficult to detect, we Shinigami have the most time. As long as Asaba is given enough time to draw his sword and become stronger, Asaba will undoubtedly become the strongest Shinigami. Asaba naturally sensed Hana Retsu hiding on the courtyard wall, but Asaba didn't break it down. Around 1 a.m., Katetsu Azane walked into Asaba's single-person courtyard with a stack of documents. Asaba, are you still not resting so late? Isn't Vice Captain Yongyan still resting? Katetsu Azane said, Asaba, can I handle the squad with you tonight? Asaba nodded. Katetsu Azane moved a table from the house to the door, watching Asaba draw his sword while dealing with the squad. Katetsu Azane's character is soft and shy, introverted and timid, and when she is afraid at night, she will secretly find her sister Tori Chingyan. Tonight, she also planned to find Huche Chingyan. However, when she passed by Asaba's single-person courtyard, she saw that the lights in Asaba's courtyard were still on. She didn't know what she was thinking, so she walked in a daze. Katetsu Azane didn't leave until it was almost dawn, holding the completed squad documents. The next morning, alarm bells rang throughout the Seraiti. Problem occurs. The captains of each division rushed to the 5th division in a hurry. When Hana Retsu heard the alarm, he appeared directly from the courtyard wall and came to Asaba, who had been drawing his sword until now. Asaba, no matter what happens, don't be impulsive and wait for me to come back. Oh, although Hana Retsu still doesn't know what happened, her intuition tells her that it has something to do with Asaba. Half an hour after Hana Retsu left, Katetsu Azane ran anxiously into Asaba's one-person courtyard. Asaba, something is wrong. What's wrong? Naoko, who wronged us both by the 5th division, was killed in front of the gate of the 5th division. Asaba's heart skipped a beat. Naoko had just lodged a complaint with Central 46 yesterday, demanding that Asaba and Katetsu Azane be punished. They were killed at the gate of the 5th division this morning, and Asaba and Katetsu Azane were naturally the first suspects. The door of the 5th division, the scene of the accident. Naoko, who no longer felt Reiatsu, collapsed in the corner. She was covered in blood, her eyes were full of anger and horror, and there was a fatal stab wound to her heart. There was still a breath of thunder and lightning left in Naoko's wound. After treatment, Hinamori Momo is no longer in serious condition. At this time, she was explaining the situation to the squad leader who had arrived here. Last night at 3 o'clock in the morning, Asaba became furious because Naoko complained to Central 46 about her best friend Miko's experience at the soul burial practice in Karakura town, and brutally killed Naoko. I wanted to stop Asaba, but I was also seriously injured by Asaba. Quote. Hinamori Momo became more and more excited as he spoke, and finally his eyes were filled with boundless anger. If Asaba hadn't sensed the arrival of Captain Aizen, Reiatsu, I'm afraid I'd also be killed by Asaba. I also asked the captains to decide for me and Naoko, as well as Naoko's best friend Miko, who was murdered by Asaba before, so that Asaba's murderer will receive the due judgment. When Kiraku Shunsui and other captains heard the words, they all looked at Hana Retsu. Hana Retsu no longer had the usual gentle and peaceful smile on her face. Hana Retsu looked at Hinamori Momo with a sullen face. Hinamori Momo, Asaba doesn't seem to have anything to do with you, right? Why are you so wrong, Asaba? I didn't wrong Asaba, what I said was the truth. Hitsugaya Toshiro looked at Hinamori Momo, whose wound almost opened with excitement, and couldn't bear it. He stood beside Hinamori Momo and looked at Unohana Retsu. Captain Usohana, you can't favor Asaba just because Asaba belongs to your 4th division. Dao joined Gote 13th and has been the vice captain of the 5th division for nearly 100 years. Don't you believe what Dao said? Aizen Sosuke patted Hinamori Momo, who was both angry and aggrieved. Captain Usohana, in fact, I don't want to believe that Asaba is the murderer, but I believe that what Dao said is the truth. Unohana Retsu looks towards Aizen Sosuke and Hitsugaya Toshiro, who are guarding Hinamori Momo. Hitsugaya Toshiro and Hinamori Momo are childhood sweethearts. Aizen Sosuke is the captain of Hinamori Momo. The two maintain Hinamori Momo, both of which are excusable. But Unohana Retsu had been watching Asaba draw his sword from the wall of Asaba's courtyard last night, and Asaba had not left that single-person courtyard all night. Unohana Retsu knew that the murderer was definitely not Asaba. Asaba stayed in the 4th team last night and didn't leave. He couldn't be the murderer. Hieraku Shunsui pushed back the hat that had been covering his face, exposed his face, and walked between Unohana Retsu and Aizen Sosuke. Oops, what trouble? Why is Seraiti always having trouble? Hinamori Momo said loudly. Beijing band leader, this is not a trouble, this is human life. Ahem. Hieraku Shunsui looked at Hinamori Momo. Deputy Captain Hinamori Momo, did you really see Asaba kill Naoko last night? Exactly. Hieraku Shunsui looked at Hinamori Momo's incomparably determined eyes, and he saw that Hinamori Momo was not lying, and he said in his heart that this matter was troublesome. Hieraku Shunsui looked at Unohana Retsu again. Unoka, Vice Captain Hinamori Momo saw Asaba kill with his own eyes, how about you? How can you prove that Asaba didn't leave the 4th team's quarters all night last night? Unohana Retsu said, I was with Asaba all night last night. What? Hieraku Shunsui looked up and down at Unohana Retsu in surprise, as if trying to see how Unohana Retsu was different from before. For example, did Unohana Retsu finally say goodbye to 2,000 years of purity and become a real woman? Unfortunately, Hieraku Shunsui didn't see anything, but was warned by Unohana Retsu's eyes. Cough, Unohana, didn't you say that to protect Asaba? Unohana Retsu knew that Hieraku Shunsui wanted her to prove that she was with Asaba last night. By the way, Yang Yin was also there last night. A black line appeared on Hieraku Shunsui's head, and he seemed to have a picture in his mind. Last night, Asaba and Unohana Retsu, and Kotetsu Azane 3. However, before the picture was formed, it was frightened away by Unohana Retsu's eyes. Hieraku Shunsui said, Deputy Captain Hinamori Momo said that she saw Asaba kill Naoko with her own eyes, and she herself was seriously injured. I think unless she has a deep hatred for Asaba, she will not lie to such a degree. But Hinamori Momo and Asaba never met. Hinamori Momo interrupted Hieraku Shunsui loudly. I'm not lying, I'm telling the truth. Hinamori Momo, Vice Captain, don't worry, I'm just stating the facts, I don't mean to question you. Jingle, then you are questioning me. Cough, Unohana, you said that you were with Asaba last night, and Kotetsu Azane was there at the time. We might as well hand over both Asaba and Kotetsu Azane to the 1st team for interrogation. Unohana didn't know what happened before she came to the 5th division, and she didn't know what the Vice Captain Hinamori Momo would say. So even if Unohana lied to protect Asaba now, it was impossible to talk to Asaba and Asaba in advance. Kotetsu Azane communicates well. Unohana, you must stay with me until the 1st team gets the interrogation statements of Asaba and Kotetsu Azane, and you can't go to see Asaba and Kotetsu Azane, okay? Unohana Retsu didn't deliberately hide Reiatsu at the time. She knew that Kotetsu Azane, although she didn't expose her, must have known she was there. As for Asaba, while drawing the knife, he looked in the direction where she was hiding several times. Apparently Asaba also sensed her presence. Okay, just do as Jingle said. Hieraku Shunsui looked at Hinamori Momo again, and Hitsugaya Toshiro and Aizen Sosuke who were protecting Hinamori Momo, do you agree? Hinamori Momo determined that Asaba was the murderer, and she felt that the evidence was conclusive and Asaba should be directly arrested and convicted. Aizen Sosuke and Hitsugaya Toshiro nodded and agreed to do as Hieraku Shunsui said. If Asaba is really the murderer, under the interrogation of the 1st team, he will naturally reveal himself. After half an hour, The first team's search team was personally led by the first team's vice captain, Chojiro Sasaki, to the fourth team. After explaining the situation to Asaba and Kotetsu Azane, Chojiro Sasaki brought Asaba and Kotetsu Azane to the first team interrogation room for interrogation. Asaba, where were you last night and what did you do? Asaba said truthfully. I was drawing a knife in my yard last night. Draw a knife? Asaba nodded. Chojiro Sasaki felt that Asaba was drawing a knife all night, but it was Asaba's business whether he was drawing a knife all night. He couldn't think Asaba was lying just because Asaba said he was drawing a knife. Who doesn't have a special hobby yet? Isn't Kyoraku Shunsui often sneaking off to a liquor store all night for a drink? Kotetsu Azane, how about you? Kotetsu Azane said. I arrived at Asaba's place at around 1 a.m. last night and didn't leave until around 5 a.m., during which time I was dealing with the 4th Division while Asaba kept drawing a knife in the yard. Kotetsu Azane, why are you going to Asaba's place for dealing with the squad? Kotetsu Azane said. When I have something in my heart, I get scared at night and don't dare to be alone. I used to go to my sister Qingyan. Last night, I was going to go to the 13th Division to find Qingyan. When he was in the courtyard, he saw that the lights in Asaba's courtyard were still on, so he went in. Kotetsu Azane has been the vice captain of Division 4 for over 100 years. Her character, Chojiro Sasaki, is still clear. According to the secret investigation report submitted by the 2nd Division after Kotetsu Azane became the vice captain of the 4th Division, Kotetsu Azane did have the habit of running to Toru at night, such as when there was thunder at night, or when Kotetsu Azane was frightened during the day. Yesterday, Naoko filed a complaint with Central 46, saying that Kotetsu Azane and Asaba murdered Naoko's best friend Miko. Kotetsu Azane was so frightened that he didn't dare to be alone at night, which was justifiable. Chojiro Sasaki asked again, was anyone else there? Kotetsu Azane said. The captain seemed to be there at the time. What does it seem to mean? Asaba said. Captain Unohana didn't show up at the time, but used keto bent light to hide on the wall of my yard. I think Captain Unohana was worried that I would go to Naoko to settle accounts at night. Quote. I see. After half an hour, Chojiro Sasaki came to Kyoraku Shunsui and other captains who were waiting in the first team meeting room. According to the confessions of Asaba and Kotetsu Azane, Asaba did stay in the 4th Division's quarters last night, and Kotetsu Azane and Captain Unohana were indeed with Asaba. After Kyoraku Shunsui learned of the result, his expression was no longer as lazy and playful as before. It's troublesome, it's really troublesome now. Kyoraku Shunsui saw that Hinamori Momo was not lying. Asaba stayed in the 4th team's quarters again last night and did not leave. Now only Asaba and Vice Captain Hinamori Momo face to face, and the Chief Captain personally judges. The squad leaders expressed no opinion. Captain Aizen, Vice Captain Hinamori Momo is very emotional. I hope you calm her down before she confronts Asaba, and don't make a joke in front of the captain. Aizen Sosuke nodded, but he had a new plan in his heart. The face-to-face confrontation between Asaba and Hinamori Momo over the killing of Naoko was scheduled to be held in the afternoon of the same day. When Aizen Sosuke returned to the 5th Division, he did not do what Kyoraku Shunsui said to calm Hinamori Momo, but put on a mask. I deliberately chose hypnosis Naoko and Hinamori Momo at 3 in the morning, so that Hinamori Momo could see Asaba kill Naoko with his own eyes. It was thought that this would allow Asaba to have no alibi, and the testimony of Hinamori Momo, who was the vice captain, would convict Asaba. It's a pity that the chess is one move away. I didn't count Unohana Retsu and Kotetsu Azane together Asaba last night. It seems that in order to eliminate the possible threat of Asaba, I have to take action against Central 46 ahead of time. Originally, according to Aizen Sosuke's plan, the time he got his hands on Central 46 was when everything was ready on the other side of the world. After Aizen Sosuke applied keto bent light to the spirit mask he was wearing, he disappeared in the 5th Division captain's room. 1 hour later, the people of Central 46 are holding regular meetings in the Central Underground Conference Hall, which is the symbol of the Soul Society's rights. Squeak, squeak. The door of the Central Underground Conference Hall opened by itself with a gap that people can pass through, and then closed by itself. The people in Central 46 all looked towards the door suspiciously. What's the matter? Is it a prank by the first team in charge of guarding Shinigami? How dare you disturb me waiting for the meeting? I will deprive the prankster of the Shinigami status. No. I will expel all the Shinigami of the first team guarding outside the gate today from Seraiti, and will never be allowed to enter. Aizen Sosuke took off the hat of his lingerie attire to reveal his stature amid Central 46's rants. In the face of a crowd of dead people, he didn't need to be covering up. Aizen Sosuke walked towards Central 46 and others with a smile. What a great authority. Who are you? How dare you break into the meeting I'm waiting for? I know him, he's Aizen Sosuke, the captain of the 5th Division. Aizen, as the squad leader, don't you know the rules of Seraiti for thousands of years? Aizen, since you are the team captain, I am willing to give you a chance to apologize. Aizen, you still don't thank me for waiting and apologize to me, and then get out. Otherwise, I will blame you. Even if you are the captain of the 5th Division, I will sentence you to Sokyoku. The punishment of Sokyoku, one of the most brutal punishments in the Soul Society, is only used for the most heinous sinners. Aizen Sosuke adjusted his glasses, his eyes full of sarcasm and disdain. I just broke into this place without your permission. Are you going to inflict the Sokyoku sentence on me, which only the most heinous criminals will be sentenced to? Aizen, what you are doing now is a heinous crime. Oh, is that so? It seems that you pests who are ruining the Soul Society are not wrong to die today. Okay, Aizen, what did you just say? Dare you say it again? Aizen Sosuke didn't say it again as Central 46 asked, not because he didn't dare, but because it wasn't necessary. Aizen Sosuke pulled out Kyoka Suigetsu and started the killing with a blank face. The people of Central 46 are nothing but a group of pampered, self-righteous trash, who is Aizen Sosuke's opponent. Aizen Sosuke killed all the people of Central 46 without breaking a sweat, without liberating Zanpakuto. As for the first team of guards outside the door, when Aizen Sosuke entered the Central Underground meeting hall earlier, he used Kyoka Suigetsu's ability to hypnosis them. Shinigami, the first team in charge of guarding the Central Underground Assembly Hall today, is still standing outside the gate, ignorant of what's going on inside. After Aizen Sosuke beheaded all the people in Central 46, he used Kyoka Suigetsu's ability to create the illusion that the people who created the Central Underground meeting hall are still alive and continue to hold meetings here. Aizen Sosuke, Ichimaru Jin, and Tusen Kanami will take turns guarding here until the final step of his plan. Afternoon. First team meeting room. Chief Captain Yamamoto Genyazai Shigekuni sat upright, with Chojiro Sasaki standing beside him. On the left side of the meeting room were the 4th Division Captain Unohana Retsu, and the 8th Division Captain Kyoraku Shunsui. Katetsu Azane stood behind Unohana Retsu, glaring at Hinamori Momo. On the right is Aizen Sosuke, the captain of the 5th Division, and Hitsugaya Toshiro, the captain of the 10th Division. Killing intent flashed in Hitsugaya Toshiro's eyes looking at Asaba. Fortunately, Hinamori Momo is not a big problem, otherwise he would not be as simple as a flash of killing intent. Asaba and Hinamori Momo stood facing each other in the hall. Asaba had a playful look on his face, while Hinamori Momo clenched his fists tightly, and her lips were bleeding from the bite. After Yamamoto Genryuzai Shigekuni glanced at Chojiro Sasaki, Chojiro Sasaki stepped forward and came between Asaba and Hinamori Momo. Deputy Captain Hinamori Momo, are you sure that you have seen Asaba in front of you kill Naoko, your 5th Division member, and wound you? Hinamori Momo nodded firmly. Hinamori Momo didn't lose control of his emotions like he did before in front of the Captain Yamamoto Genyazai Shigekuni. Kyoraku Shunsui saw Hinamori Momo's appearance and pulled the hat on his head forward to cover his face. Fortunately, this case was taken over by the captain, otherwise he would have been troubled to death. Asaba, do you have anything to explain? Asaba said. I didn't do anything, why should I explain? If you find me guilty, you can hand me over to Central 46 for trial. The first team has an interrogation room and has the right to interrogate the team Shinigami. However, Asaba is the 3rd seat of the 4th Division. If Asaba commits a crime, the 1st Division should provide the charges and then be tried by Central 46. Asaba finished speaking and looked at Aizen Sosuke. Seeing Aizen Sosuke's determination to win, Asaba felt a lump in his heart and secretly thought that it was not good. Aizen Sosuke may have already attacked Central 46 in advance. At this moment, a first-team Shinigami came to Chojiro Sasakibe's ear, whispered a few words, and backed out. When Chojiro Sasakibe heard the words, his expression changed, and he hurriedly returned to Yamamoto Yuanyujai Shogun, and also muttered a few words in a low voice. Yamamoto Yuanyujai Shigekuni, who was sitting originally, stood up with a sullen face. The order just came from Central 46 to deprive Asaba of the Zanpakuto that was granted, and to expel Asaba from Seraiti. Asaba looked towards Aizen Sosuke. Aizen Sosuke returned Asaba with a good look. Central 46 had been wiped out by Aizen Sosuke, and this order was naturally a false order issued by Tusen Konami, who was staying in the Central Underground meeting hall at that time, following the instructions of Aizen Sosuke. Hieraku Shunsui, who was covered by the hat, glanced at Aizen Sosuke calmly, but did not speak. Unohana Retsu stood up. Captain, Yongyin and I can both testify that Asaba stayed in the 4th Division last night, and the murderer of Naoko was definitely not Asaba. Yamamoto Yuanyujai Heavy Country Road. Unohana, this is the order of Central 46. Once Central 46's order was given, even Yamamoto Motonuzai Shigekuni, who was the captain, could not intervene. Evening. Together with Katetsu Azane, Unohana Retsu sent Asaba to the West Rukongai District 1 outside Seraiti Beidao Gate. Unohana Retsu hands Asaba's Zanpakuto, who was taken back by the first team, towards Asaba. Asaba, believe me, I will find the real murderer, clear your name, and let you return to the 4th Division. Asaba smiled and looked at Unohana Retsu holding his Zanpakuto. Captain, are you breaking Seraiti's rules? This is what Jingle asked me to pay back to you. It is said that the commander-in-chief personally ordered it. Asaba then took over Zanpakuto. Yamamoto Yuanyujai Shigekuni instructed to return Zanpakuto to Asaba, which Asaba did not expect. The old man of Yamamoto Yuanyujai Shigekuni is indeed an old monster who has been in charge of Seraiti for more than 2,000 years. He should have seen the strangeness in it. Asaba, I'm sorry, it's all me who has troubled you. Katetsu Azane couldn't hold it any longer and cried out loud. Vice Captain Yang Yin, this has nothing to do with you. This really has nothing to do with Katetsu Azane. Asaba looked in Seraiti's direction. Wasn't Aizen Sosuke afraid that Asaba would influence his plans? Then Asaba would not let Aizen Sosuke succeed. Asaba decided in his heart that he would do everything in his power to prevent Aizen Sosuke from getting Hogyoku. After Asaba turned to leave, Unohana Retsu's face darkened completely. Yongyin, you go back to the 4th Division first, I still have things to do. Katetsu Azane had never seen Unohana Retsu make such a terrifying expression. After half an hour, Wild in West Rukongai District 1. Asaba, you killed the people of my 5th Division, do you think you can just leave? Asaba looked at Aizen Sosuke who appeared to stop him, and clenched Zanpakuto in his hand. Even if Asaba takes off the Reiatsu weight loaders, he is at best a vice captain, and he is far from Aizen Sosuke's opponent. Are you going to die here? Suddenly, Asaba sensed a familiar Reiatsu, slowly approaching here. Aizen Sosuke obviously sensed that Reiatsu, so his expression changed and he directly shot at Asaba. Aizen Sosuke and a Shunpo came to Asaba, and Kyoka Suigetsu had been pulled out and held in his hand. Ding! Kyoka Suigetsu, who Aizen Sosuke slashed at Asaba's neck, was stopped by a handful of Zanpakuto. Aizen, you don't take me seriously. Unohana Retsu shows up just in time to block Aizen Sosuke's attack. Aizen Sosuke stepped back, then held Kyoka Suigetsu backhand with the tip of the knife pointing down. Shatter. Kyoka Suigetsu. As the blade of Kyoka Suigetsu flashed blue light, Asaba knew that Aizen Sosuke had finished Shikai on Kyoka Suigetsu. Wait. Asaba suddenly petrified on the spot. He just watched Aizen Sosuke's Shikai. What the hell? What the hell? What the hell? Asaba has 10,000 grass and mud horses galloping in his mind at the moment. It was the first time he saw Shikai of the captain-level Shinigami, so he was so fascinated just now that he forgot to guard against Kyoka Suigetsu of Aizen Sosuke. Unohana Retsu saw that Aizen Sosuke used Shikai, and said to Asaba, be careful of Asaba. Aizen's Zanpakuto is the Zanpakuto of the flowing water system, which can make opponents kill each other. You must guard your mind and don't be affected by his Zanpakuto's ability. Quote. Unohana Retsu doesn't know Aizen Sosuke Kyoka Suigetsu's true abilities at this time. Shatter, Kyoka Suigetsu. Aizen Sosuke directly relieved Kyoka Suigetsu Shikai, and then retracted Kyoka Suigetsu back into the scabbard. Asaba, I hope you will never step into Seraiti again and let me see you, or I will kill you to avenge Naoko. After Aizen Sosuke finished speaking, he turned and left. Unohana Retsu glanced at Asaba and followed. Hey, I'm so careless. I didn't expect that I would be tricked. Now I can only hope that the wind field after my Shikai White Tiger can fight against Kyoka Suigetsu. The 5th Division Captain's Room. Aizen, since you think Asaba is a threat to our plan, why not just kill him? Aizen Sosuke looked at Ichimaru Jin and explained with a smile. Asaba is only at the level of an official now, not to mention that he has been kicked out of Seraiti, so there is nothing to be afraid of. Silver, how did you do what I asked you to do? Ichimaru Jin said, I have managed to get Hitsugaya Toshiro's attention and make him think that there is a dispute between me and you. Very well, we can move on to the next step. After Ichimaru Jin left, Aizen Sosuke got up and went to the window, looking in the direction of West Rukongai. Asaba, you are a promising opponent in the future. You must not forget your hatred for me, work hard to become stronger and seek revenge for me. Otherwise, after I get Hogyoku's power to crush the Soul Society, I'll be bored because I don't have an opponent. Aizen Sosuke expects unrivaled power on the one hand. On the one hand, he is afraid that no one will be his opponent after he gains power, so he looks forward to an opponent who can match him. Before Aizen Sosuke met Asaba, he had planned to train Kurosaki Ichigo, who had a special status, into his future opponent. Therefore, Aizen Sosuke arranged for Rukia Kuchiki and Kurosaki Ichigo to meet in this world. Since Aizen Sosuke learned that Asaba can draw a sword and become stronger, Asaba has also become one of his future opponents. Otherwise, Aizen Sosuke asked Tusen Konami to issue a fake order on behalf of Central 46, not to expel Asaba from Seraiti, but to kill Asaba. Aizen Sosuke deliberately made Unohana Retsu perceive his Reiatsu when he left Seraiti through the White Road Gate, so that Unohana Retsu can save Asaba from him in time. In order to achieve the purpose of making Asaba full of resentment against Asaba because he murdered him. Aizen Sosuke is an extremely conceited person. He made Asaba have a life and death vengeance against him, just so that when Asaba confronts him again, Aizen Sosuke can do his best to him. Aizen Sosuke has known about Ichimaru Jin for a long time, and the reason why he has not dismantled Ichimaru Jin is to see how far Ichimaru Jin can go. As for why Asaba saw Kyoka Suigetsu Shikai, it was Aizen Sosuke's insurance for his next plan. Aizen Sosuke is a must-win for Hogyoku, and there is no room for loss. West Rukongai District 43, Outskirts. Shiba's house. Asaba learned from Jin Yan and Yin Yan, who stayed behind, that Shiba Sora went outside to do high-risk blasting tests. As for Shiba Ganju, he took his younger brothers to Rukongai to seek justice every day. In fact, Shiba Gansu just has nothing to do and is busy in Rukongai. At dusk, Shiba Ganjing was riding his boar mount, Polly. When passing by the bamboo forest in front of his house, he vaguely saw a man drawing a knife in the bamboo forest. The man looked familiar, and Shiba Ganju took a closer look. Asaba. A few days after Shiba Ganju sent Asaba to apply to the True Spiritual Academy, he sent his younger brother to West 1st Street to inquire about Asaba's news, and learned that Asaba was successfully admitted to the True Spiritual Academy. Is it an illusion? Asaba should be studying at Central 46 now, how could he be here? Asaba sensed Shiba Ganju's Reiatsu, stopped drawing his sword, and walked towards Shiba Ganju. Ganju, long time no see, do you miss me? Shiba Ganju looked at Asaba in amazement, and found that Asaba was not wearing the school uniform of the True Spirit Academy. Of course, Asaba had been kicked out of Seraiti, so he wasn't wearing a Death Fighter suit either. Aren't you supposed to be at the True Spiritual Academy? Why are you here? Hey. After Asaba sighed, he was about to explain his situation. Shiba Ganju stepped forward and hooked Asaba's shoulder, and patted Asaba's back vigorously. Asaba, you must have been expelled from Junyang Spiritual Arts Academy because of your poor performance. It's okay, you will follow me in Rukongai from now on, and I will cover you. Shiba Gansu comforts Asaba on the surface, but his heart is full of teasing. It's a shame that Asaba was expelled from the true Central Academy of Spiritual Arts after only a little over a month. Shiba Gansu didn't want Asaba to stay in Shiba's house before, because he was afraid that his sister Shiba Kuzuru would ask Asaba to join him. Now, Shiba Gansu believed that his sister Shiba Sora would not like Asaba, who was expelled from the True Spiritual Academy after spending a month at the True Spiritual Academy. It's not that Shiba Gansu really hates Asaba, he just admires his sister too much and thinks Asaba is not worthy of Shiba Sora. In Shiba's heart, only a genius like his brother Shiba Kyan is worthy of Shiba's. Asaba saw Shiba Ganju misunderstanding and was about to explain, but Shiba Sora came back. Shiba Kuzuru a Shunpo appeared in front of Asaba and Shiba Ganju. When she returned home, she sensed Asaba's Reiatsu from a distance, and rushed here with all her strength. Shiba Sora looked at Asaba in surprise. Asaba, are you back? Sister Crane, I'm going to disturb Shiba's house again. Why bother? Didn't I ask you to treat Shiba's house as yours? Shiba's house. Shiba Kuzuru asked Jinyan and Yinyan to prepare a sumptuous dinner. During the banquet, Shiba Ganju asked deliberately. Asaba, why were you expelled from the True Spirit Academy? Shiba Sora glared at Shiba Gansu, and she knew that the knife on Asaba's waist was Zanpakuto, who had completed the liberation of his real name. Zanpakuto's real name was released within a month, and Reiatsu was also Asaba, who had reached the level of an official, and could not be expelled from the True Spiritual Arts Academy. Shiba Gansu does not have Zanpakuto, so he is not very familiar with the breath of Zanpakuto. In addition, the form of Asaba Zanpakuto when he was not liberated was very different from the Zanpakuto of the rest, so Shiba Gansu did not recognize Asaba's knife as Zanpakuto. Shiba Ganju. Asaba, what do you mean by interrupting my house next? Don't you have to go back to the academy? Actually, I have graduated from the True Central Spiritual Arts Academy. Hiss. Shiba Gansu and Shiba Sora both gasped. Has Asaba graduated from the True Spirit Academy? Impossible, Asaba, how could you graduate from the True Spirit Academy in just 1 month? My brother Shiba Kyan is a recognized genius. It took him almost 2 years to graduate from the True Spiritual Art Academy. Impossible. It's absolutely impossible for you to graduate from the True Spirit Academy so quickly. You must be afraid that we think you are useless, so you said that on purpose, right? Asaba handed his Zanpakuto to Shiba Gansu. I have indeed graduated from the True Spirit Academy, and this is my Zanpakuto. This is Zanpakuto. Shiba Ganju suspiciously took Zanpakuto from Asaba's hand and pulled it out. What a nice view. Shiba Sora looked at Shiba Gansu's hand, Zanpakuto, which was completely pulled out and had a transparent blade, with beautiful eyes. It was the first time she had seen such a beautiful Zanpakuto. And in a state of no liberation. Isn't this a sealed state? How can a sealed state look like this? Do you think I haven't seen a sealed state? Asterisk. Shiba Ganju preconceived that Asaba was lying, so he was so sure. And he never thought that Asaba had completed the liberation of his real name, and felt that even if Asaba had Zanpakuto, it must still be in a sealed state. Shiba Kuzuru snatches Asaba's Zanpakuto and scabbard from Shiba Ganju, then punches Shiba Ganju hard on the head. Ignorance. This is not a sealed state, but the unnamed Zanpakuto who has completed the liberation of his real name. After Zanpakuto liberates his true name, the form will undergo certain changes in form according to the soul injected by the holder. What? When Shiba Ganju heard Shiba Sokaku's explanation, he was completely stupid. He didn't believe Asaba, but he believed his sister Shiba Sokaku's words. Sister, are you saying that Asaba has completed the Zanpakuto Shikai? You are mistaken. Asaba has just been admitted to the True Spiritual Academy for a little over a month. In other words, it's only been about a month since Asaba got the sealed state. Sister, didn't you tell me that if you want to release the real name of the sealed state, you need to spend several years living with it for a long time, injecting your soul into it, and honing and merging with each other? Can you do it? Shiba Sora returned Zanpakuto to Asaba. Asaba, explain it yourself. Sister Kong, Ganju sent me to apply for the True Central Spiritual Arts Academy according to your instructions, and I was successfully admitted to the True Central Spiritual Arts Academy. Shiba Sora glared at Shiba Ganju upon hearing this, and Shiba Ganju immediately cast a begging look at Shiba Sora. Shiba Sora glared at Shiba Ganju, but did not rush to attack. She told Asaba at the time that Shiba Gansu had something to do with Asaba and wanted Shiba to teach Asaba Kido and Shiba's family spells. Unexpectedly, Shiba Ganju actually lied to Asaba, saying that she asked him to take Asaba to apply for the True Spirit Academy. After I completed the liberation of Zanpakuto's real name in about a month, I submitted an application for early graduation. After the application was approved, I passed the separate entry assessment of Jingle and other captains, and then successfully joined the 4th Division. After I joined the 4th team, I became the 3rd seed of the 4th team through the battle to win the seat. Unfortunately, I was framed by Aizen Sosuke and expelled from Seraiti. Hiss. Shiba Gansu and Shiba Sora took a breath again. Especially Shiba Ganju, looking at Asaba with shock. He thought that Asaba returned to Shiba's house because he was expelled from the True Spirit Academy, but he did not expect that Asaba was expelled by Seraiti. Before Asaba was expelled, he was the 3rd seed of the 4th Division. Completed Zanpakuto Shikai in 1 month and successfully graduated early, joining Gote 13th as the 3rd seed. This is a level his brother Shiba Kyan has not reached. Could it be that Asaba is more talented than his brother Shiba Kyan? Asaba, what are your plans now? After being surprised, Shiba Sora asked. Aizen Sosuke is plotting to frame me. I won't let it go, but my current strength is not enough to compete with Aizen Sosuke, so until I have enough strength, I want to stay at Shiba's house. In fact, Asaba knew that the plot would start soon. Since he cannot stay in Seraiti, he directly participates in the plot as Shinigami of Gote 13th. Then, Asaba chose to join Kurosaki Ichigo and others to participate in the plot as a disaster. Isn't Aizen Sosuke afraid that Asaba will hinder his plan to capture Hogyoku? Asaba had to stop showing it to Aizen Sosuke. After dinner, Shiba Ganju was called to her room by Shiba Sora. Shiba Gansu, who knew what Shiba Sora was doing, felt uneasy in his heart. Shiba Sora was not talking nonsense, and punched Shiba Gansu directly on the head. An exaggerated large bag suddenly appeared on Shiba's head. Pain. Do you still know it hurts? Shiba Ganju said, punching Shiba Ganju again. Okay, your courage has grown fat. Not only did you disobey my orders, but you dare to lie to me. If Asaba didn't come back, did you plan to hide it from me? Well, sister, I know I'm wrong. Shiba Gansu thought that Asaba would not return to Shiba's house for at least 6 years. At that time, Asaba, who had only stayed at Shiba's house for more than 10 days, was long forgotten by Shiba Kong. Shiba Gansu thought that Asaba would return to Shiba's house so soon. Only why you did this, I will not pursue it. I didn't directly expose you at the banquet, that's to give you face, but you can't forget about your mistakes, go to Asaba and apologize. After Shiba Gansu left Shiba Sora's room, he came to Asaba's room, only to find that Asaba was not in the room. Shiba Gansu pulled Jin Yan, who was cleaning the yard, and asked, Kim Yan, where's Asaba? Jin Yan pointed to the bamboo forest outside Shiba's house. Shiba Ganju came to the bamboo forest and saw Asaba standing on a rock, constantly drawing his sword. At this time, Shiba Ganju had an admiration for Asaba in his heart. It was not without reason that Asaba was able to graduate early from the True Spirit Academy and free Zanpakuto in a month. How many people can work as hard as Asaba? When Asaba sensed Shiba Gansu's Reiatsu, he stopped drawing his sword and waved at Shiba Gansu. Ganchuri, why don't you rest? Shiba Ganju came to Asaba, touched his head and said, Asaba, I'm sorry, I lied to you before. In fact, when my sister said that I had something to do with you, she didn't ask me to take you to apply for the True Spirit Academy. I make my own decisions. Shiba Ganju did not explain why. Although Asaba felt speechless, he didn't take it to heart. It's all over, and I have to thank you. Thank me. Asaba nodded. Yes, I got Zanpakuto at the True Spiritual Academy. Even if Asaba does not join the True Spirit Academy, he can become stronger by drawing his sword. But for a Shinigami, with Zanpakuto, and without Zanpakuto, are two completely different concepts. Asaba, have you really finished Shikai? Can you show me? Asaba nodded, then tossed Zanpakuto into the air. Boom! When Asaba's Zanpakuto fell in front of Asaba with the sound of thunder, it came to a standstill. Asaba's Zanpakuto form has changed again. When Asaba held Qinglong, Reiatsu on his body also tripled. Originally, Asaba's Reiatsu was far inferior to Shiba Gansu. At this point, Asaba's Reiatsu was only a tad worse than Shiba Ganju. Shiba Gansu's Reiatsu level is infinitely close to the vice captain in 3 seats. When he invaded Seraiti with Kurosaki Ichigo and others, Shiba Gansu was almost hanged in the face of a Yasugawa Yumashika. On the one hand, it is because a Yasugawa Yumashika is really strong. On the one hand, Shiba Gansu has a Reiatsu, which is not very good in use. Of course, Shiba Ganju does not have Zanpakuto, but only knows some Shiba family spells, which is also one of the important reasons. After Asaba finished showing Shikai, Shiba Ganju swallowed, and the way he looked at Asaba changed completely. Now, Shiba Gansu has regarded Asaba as a genius of the same height as his older brother Shiba Kyan. No, in the heart of Shiba Ganju, Asaba is even more talented than his older brother Shiba Kyan. Shiba Kyan has always been the idol of Shiba Gansu. Asaba is in the heart of Shiba Ganju, and after reaching the same height as Shiba Kyan, he also became the idol of Shiba Ganju. Asaba, did you meet a Shinigami named Rukia in Seraiti? Asaba naturally knew the feud between Rukia Kuchiki and the Shiba family. Of course, Asaba doesn't say it directly. Are you referring to the 13th Division member, Rukia Kuchiki? Shiba Ganju nodded sullenly, and said the name Rukia Kuchiki with resentment in his eyes. How is she doing now? Of course Shiba Gansu wanted to hear from Asaba that Rukia Kuchiki was having a bad time. Asaba had met Rukia Kuchiki in Karakura town long before he came to Rukongai. Rukia Kuchiki's Reiatsu disappeared from the world as early as a month ago. It won't be long before Rukia Kuchiki will be discovered in this world, and then Aizen Sosuke will use Central 46 to give a false order to bring him back to the Soul Society to be found guilty. Rukia Kuchiki's current situation is indeed very bad. I only heard about her from the 4th Division, but I haven't seen her. It is said that she was dispatched to the present Karakura town to perform a mission. Asaba did not tell Shiba Gansu of Rukia Kuchiki's real situation. Have you passed away? Humph. One day I will find her to settle the account myself. Do you have a grudge against Rukia Kuchiki? Asaba asked knowingly. Shiba Ganju did not explain to Asaba. The next morning, Shiba Ganju found Asaba again, who had been drawing his knife in the woods all night. Asaba, have you been resting? Asaba nodded. Since Asaba was calculated by Aizen Sosuke, he couldn't wait to become stronger. There is less than a month left before Aizen Sosuke's betrayal of the Soul Society, and Asaba must improve his strength as much as possible within this month. At least raise Reiatsu's level to Ichiban Captain level. Even if you can't get the Bankai reward, at least unlock all the 2 remaining Shikai forms of Zanpakuto. Shiba Ganju watched Asaba draw his sword. Asaba, what do you think of my sister? Sister Kong is very good. If it wasn't for Miss Kong who brought me back, what would have happened to me in a coma in the wild? Asaba doesn't know yet that Shiba Sora, who was carrying out the high-risk blasting, accidentally injured him. If Shiba Sora didn't tell Asaba, Asaba may never know. I didn't mean that. Asaba drew his knife and asked, what does that mean? Asaba draws a sword and becomes stronger requires concentration. With Asaba's current strength, he does not necessarily have to concentrate completely. Therefore, Asaba can draw his sword while distracted and talk to Shiba Ganju. Of course, in the state of incomplete concentration, the number of times Asaba can draw the knife per minute is naturally greatly reduced. Originally, Asaba could draw his knife 30 times per minute. At this time, Asaba was talking to Shiba Gansu while drawing his sword, only about 10 times per minute. Shiba Gansu was a little hard to say. Just Asaba, what kind of woman do you think my sister is? Asaba didn't know why Shiba Ganju asked that, but he answered anyway. Sister Kong is beautiful, generous, intellectual and righteous, and she is a role model for my generation. Shiba Gansu was overjoyed when he heard the words. Asaba, you mean, you admire my sister very much? I don't dare to appreciate it, I admire Miss Kong Hee. Shiba Ganju said. Hey, Asaba, since you call my sister Kong, what kind of respect do you have for my sister? I think it's good to appreciate it. Really? Asaba looked at Shiba Ganju. Why did he feel that Shiba Ganju was a little unusual today? Asaba, I already understand your thoughts, you come on, I will help you. After Shiba Ganju finished speaking, he whistled and left the bamboo forest, leaving Asaba standing in a daze. My mind, will you help me? Did I stay at Shiba's house in order to join Kurosaki Ichigo and others, and then invade Seraiti with Kurosaki Ichigo and others, to stop Aizen Sosuke from acquiring Hogyoku, and was Shiba Gansu see-through? It's impossible. Although Asaba thought it was impossible, he thought about Shiba Gansu asking about Rukia Kuchiki on purpose last night, and he said that again today, and he was uncertain for a while. Rukia Kuchiki is the most important part of Aizen Sosuke's plan. Asaba originally thought that Shiba Gansu was because of the grudge between the Shiba family and Rukia Kuchiki, but now there is a new possibility. Hey, what am I thinking about so much? At the moment, my most important task is to work hard to improve my strength. In the following days, Asaba stayed in the woods from morning to night, and from night to morning, drawing his sword. Successful drawing of the knife, Reiatsu plus 0.3. Host successfully draws his sword 2 million times and gets the reward for drawing the sword, the third form of Shikai. Closing square bracket. Chapter 41. After successfully drawing the sword 2 million times, even though Asaba is wearing the Reiatsu weight loaders, the current Reiatsu level still reaches the normal level of 3 seats in the squad. If Asaba disarms the Reiatsu weightlifter, Asaba's Reiatsu water commodore reaches the level of vice captain. There is actually a big gap between Reiatsu at the vice captain level and Reiatsu at the 3-seat level. It's just that the specific situation of each team is different, so it gives people the feeling that there is not much difference. The release of Reiatsu from Kusajishi Yakiru alone will stun all the officers of the 11th Division, including the current vice captain of the 6th Division, Abarai Renji, and the future vice captain of the 11th Division, Madarei Makaku. You can see the gap between the real vice captain level Reiatsu and the squad leader. In 1.5 months, Asaba went from being barely perceptible to Reiatsu to the level of a vice captain, which is definitely a miracle. Reiatsu is the measure of combat effectiveness in the Shinigami world. Shinigami can continuously increase the intensity of Reiatsu through exercise. Hard and long workouts, while improving Shinigami's Reiatsu, are too slow. The improvement in Reiatsu after a month of consistent workouts is almost negligible. And Asaba, even with the Reiatsu weight carrying gear, 70% of the rewards obtained every time the sword is drawn are absorbed. Every time Asaba draws his sword, he improves more Reiatsu than any other Shinigami who has worked hard for a month to improve. Of course, Reiatsu can also be improved by other special means. Like Shinigami doing Shikai and Bankai to Zanpakuto. Such as the special Reiatsu lifting device developed by the Technology Development Bureau. Of course, all of the above can only give Reiatsu a temporary boost, not a fundamental boost to the Shinigami's Reiatsu. There is another way to radically improve Reiatsu. That is the Hogyoku that Aizen Sosuke has been planning. Hogyoku is actually a bug-level item that improves Reiatsu. Asaba Zanpakuto space. After Asaba came to the void space, he found 2 directions except for the things that were originally lit up. The location due south of Asaba is also shining brightly. Asaba probed his mind into the light due south, and was immediately sucked in by the light due south. When Asaba regained his vision, he found him standing in the air above a sea of fire. In the center of the sea of fire, there is a big red bird covered in flames. Asaba recognized at a glance that the big red bird was the Suzaku. Asaba Zanpakuto space due east is the blue dragon. Due west is the white tiger. The due south position at this time is Suzaku. Then the 4th Shikai form of Asaba Zanpakuto, the remaining due north position, is Xuanwu. Asaba, you only need to pass my test and I will tell you your real name. Oh, Suzaku and Baihu need Asaba to pass the test. Asaba nodded. Good. Asaba looked forward. When Baihu tested Asaba, Asaba Master acquired Qinglong's exclusive skill, 9 Heavens Thunder. He also learned the exclusive skill of the White Tiger, the Field of Wind. This time, what exclusive skills can I learn from Suzaku's test? Asaba asked. I wonder what your test is. Suzaku replied. My test is very simple. I will attack you 3 times, and you need to use the power of the White Tiger to avoid my 3 attacks. After Suzaku finished speaking, Asaba had a handful of Zanpakuto in front of him. It is the liberated White Tiger. After Asaba held the White Tiger, the aura on his body changed, and Reiatsu's level was infinitely close to Super Captain. Just like when the White Tiger tested Asaba, Suzaku temporarily lent his power to Asaba. Asaba now has unlimited firepower. Asaba, are you ready? I'm about to launch my first attack. Asaba hurriedly opened the wind field, because it was in a state of infinite firepower. Asaba's wind field directly enveloped the entire Suzaku space. Come on. Asaba stared at Suzaku and said. Huh. Asaba's voice just fell, and his face changed instantly. Because Suzaku has disappeared in Asaba's eyes. At the same time, Asaba, who opened the wind domain, sensed that Suzaku's attack had reached his back. What a great speed. Asaba's test is not to resist Suzaku's attack, but to evade. Then, Asaba hurriedly dodged to the side. Kanken dodged Suzaku's first attack. As expected of the White Tiger's wind domain, I can even sense such a fast attack. However, just now it was only 50% of my speed, and the next blow is 70% of my speed. Ha! Suzaku disappeared in place again. By the time Asaba sensed Suzaku's attack, Suzaku had already arrived in front of Asaba and was close at hand to Asaba. Asaba knew he couldn't dodge Suzaku's blow. After opening the White Tiger's wind field, Asaba could sense Suzaku's attack. But Suzaku's speed was too fast, and Asaba's own speed couldn't keep up. If only I could Shunpo. Shunpo is one of Shinigami's 4 skills, but there are not many Shinigami who are true masters. Shunpo, like Zanpakuto Liberation, is not a master if you want to learn. Asaba does not know Shunpo. It is not that he cannot learn, but that he has not yet learned. Seeing that Asaba was about to be hit by the Suzaku and failed the test, the voice of the White Tiger resounded in Asaba's mind. Asaba, can my wind domain only sense incoming attacks? When the voice of the White Tiger sounded, everything in the Vermilion Bird space seemed to stop. Only Asaba and Baihu were left to communicate with each other. Asaba, recall the battle when you were tested by me, and explore the true power of my wind domain from it. The real power of the White Tiger wind domain. Asaba thought about it carefully, and finally found that the wind field he opened was different from the power displayed by the White Tiger at that time. After Asaba opens the wind field, he can sense the incoming attack. The White Tiger, on the other hand, sensed the attack that Asaba was about to carry out in advance. There is an essential difference between the two. The White Tiger's voice sounded again. In the wind field, any movement will affect the flow of the wind. Asaba understood. Previously, after Asaba opened the wind field, he waited for the wind to give him an early warning, so as to sense the incoming attack. The power of the White Tiger wind domain is not waiting for the wind to give him an early warning, but actively sensing the changes in the wind. Thus, the opponent's attack is sensed in advance. In this way, even if Suzaku's speed is so fast that Asaba can't keep up, Asaba can also use early perception to avoid early. Suzaku's space returned to normal. Suzaku's attack stopped in front of Asaba, who took the initiative to withdraw his hand and retreated to the side. Asaba, I'll give you one more chance. This time it's my 10% speed. Asaba nodded, then began to sense the changes in wind flow within the wind field. Up there, before Suzaku acted, Asaba had already sensed Suzaku's next attack in advance. Just as Asaba dodged to the left, Suzaku's attack reached above where Asaba was standing. That's right, you have mastered the real power of the White Tiger wind domain so quickly, you deserve to be our master. My ability is to control the burning fire, my name is Suzaku. Seeing Suzaku directly telling him his real name, Asaba was puzzled at first and then relieved. Like the White Tiger, the purpose of testing Asaba is not to make things difficult for Asaba, or to disapprove of Asaba. The White Tiger is an exclusive skill to help Asaba master Qinglong. Suzaku is to help Asaba master Baihu's exclusive skill, the real power in the field of wind. Although Asaba knew Suzaku's real name for a long time, if he wanted to complete the liberation of Suzaku, he had to tell Asaba himself, and Asaba could complete the liberation of Suzaku. After Asaba completed the liberation of Suzaku, he withdrew from the Zanpakuto space. Although I have completed the liberation of Suzaku, my current strength is still too weak. If I want to fight against Aizen Sosuke, even if it is Aizen Sosuke without Hogyoku, my current strength is still far from enough. Asaba pulled Zanpakuto out, held it with his left hand, and dabbed the transparent knife with his right hand. The flames burned my body, I am self-nirvana, Suzaku. As Asaba chanted Suzaku's Shikai softly, the form of Zanpakuto in Asaba's hand also changed. The hilt in Asaba's hand had a phoenix. There are phoenix feathers floating on the knife tan. The blade, which was originally transparent, turned into a vermilion color, and the whole body was covered with flames. After Asaba liberated Suzaku, his Reiatsu tripled. Asaba also learned about Suzaku's abilities after liberation. After liberating Suzaku, not only tripled Asaba's Reiatsu. At the same time, the speed of Asaba is also increased by 10 times. Moreover, when Asaba uses the liberated Suzaku to attack, the attack will have flames attached to the attack, and if he hits the target multiple times, he can ignite the spiritual power in the target's body. Qinglong strengthens its power, and the attack has a paralyzing effect, and the exclusive skill is 9 Days of Thunder. 9 Days of Thunder, summoning thunder within the range. Each thunder has a good attack power, and if you are hit by multiple thunders at the same time, you will be paralyzed. The White Tiger strengthens its perception, and the attack comes with a defense-breaking effect, which is an exclusive skill field. The Wind Field. Within the field, Asaba can sense the opponent's actions in advance through the wind. Suzaku strengthens the speed, and the attack has the effect of Burning Spirit. I haven't learned the exclusive skills yet. Maybe I won't learn Suzaku's exclusive skills until I liberate the fourth form. In the days that followed, Asaba continued to draw his sword to become stronger. Time passed slowly. One evening, Shiba Griffin finds Asaba. Asaba, my sister asked you to go to Sun Moon Lake at 12 o'clock in the evening. Sun Moon Lake is 2 miles west of Shiba's house. There is a small island in the center of the pool, which divides the pool into 2 sides. Did the flight attendant say something? It has been less than half a month since Aizen Sosuke betrayed the Soul Society. Asaba wants to seize all the time to draw his sword and become stronger. The flight attendant said that she has something very important to tell you in person. Oh, okay, please tell Miss Kong, I will be there on time. Shiba Ganju gave Asaba a cheering look and left. After, Shiba Ganju found Shiba Kong again, and also invited Shiba Kong to Sun Moon Lake. Of course, the reason Shiba Gansu gave to Shiba Sora was that Asaba had something very important to tell her personally. Shiba Ganju conveyed the news to Asaba and Shiba Kong respectively, so he took his younger brothers and rushed to Sun Moon Lake in advance to prepare. 12 o'clock that night, Asaba and Shiba Kong came to Sun Moon Lake before and after. Asaba was about to ask Shiba what was going on with him, but Shiba was the one who spoke first. Asaba, you invited me here late at night, what is the important thing you want to tell me? Asaba was stunned for a moment. Asaba has the ultimate Reiatsu perception obtained by drawing his sword, and naturally he perceives Shiba Gansu and his younger brothers hiding in the dark. Asaba immediately understood that it was Shiba Ganju's ghost. Cough, the moon is so full tonight, I want to invite Miss Kong to come out to admire the moon. A string of black lines appeared on Shiba's head. Asaba asked Shiba Ganju to invite her here. The so-called important thing is to see the moon. Shiba Sora Crane looked up into the air. Shiba Ganju, who was hiding in the dark, saw that both Asaba and Shiba Kong were looking up at the sky, and immediately said, "Quick, it's now." Boom, 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 ... Heart-shaped fireworks appeared one after another in the sky that Asaba and Shiba Sora was looking at. Shiba Sora immediately recognized that it was her Shiba's fireworks. Knowing that it must be Shiba Ganju who is doing the trick in the dark. Ahem, Asaba, what do you mean? What's the meaning? What the hell do you mean? Asaba fooled Shiba Kong and said that he invited her out to admire the moon, but he didn't want to betray Shiba Ganju. Although Asaba knew that Shiba Ganju was hiding in the dark, he didn't know that Shiba Ganju would come out like this. The fireworks in the air are of different colors, but they are all heart-shaped. When Shiba Sora looked at Asaba's face, the fireworks in the sky happened to be red. Shiba Sora looked at Asaba's face reddened by the fireworks, and immediately misunderstood. She whispered, "Asaba, you like me." What? After Asaba was asked by Shiba Sora, he remembered the shapes of the fireworks in the sky and understood. Shiba Gansu is matching Asaba and his sister Shiba Sora, and giving Asaba a romantic opportunity to confess. But, Asaba now only wants to become stronger, and has never thought about the relationship between children and children. Facing Shiba Sora's question, Asaba carefully looked at Shiba Sora. Shiba Kong has a beautiful face. Usually, due to his personality, the expression on his face has always been relatively large. Coupled with her very casual dress, it will give people a feeling of lack of femininity. If she dresses up properly, she can be considered a beauty. In fact, in addition to her beautiful face, Shiba Kong has a very hot figure. But, if you say that Asaba likes Shiba Kong, it's really hard to say. At least Asaba didn't feel any heartbeat when facing Shiba Sora. Seeing that Asaba did not answer, Shiba Sora Suru asked again. You asked me out late at night to watch such fireworks, don't you like me? A string of black lines appeared on Asaba's head. What to do? How to answer? At this time, Shiba Ganju rushed out with his little brothers and began to sprinkle petals around Asaba and Shiba Sky Crane. Asaba, sister, are you surprised? Asaba said, Ganju, did you invite me here just to show me the fireworks of your Shiba's house? As expected of Shiba's fireworks, it's beautiful. Asaba naturally asked this to Shiba Sora on purpose. After Shiba Sora heard Asaba's words, he immediately understood what Asaba meant. She breathed a sigh of relief. She doesn't like Asaba either, she just thinks Asaba is good and treats Asaba as her younger brother. If Asaba really likes her and confesses to her tonight, she doesn't know what to do. Now that she learned that Asaba didn't want to confess to her, she felt relieved, but also had an inexplicable loss. At this time, it is human nature, just like a woman, who will always unconsciously care about other people's evaluation of her body and appearance. Shiba Kong grabbed Shiba Ganju's ear and walked to one side. Ganju, since you need a beating, then I'll do it for you. After Shiba Sora pulled Shiba Ganju aside, it was a fat beating. A few minutes later, Shiba Kong clapped his hands and returned to Asaba. Asaba, I'm sorry, this is all a prank by my brother to make you see a joke. When you have time, I invite you to watch a real Shiba fireworks. Asaba nodded. I am waiting. After Asaba and Shiba Kong left, Shiba's Ganju, whose head and face were exaggerated, got up from the ground with the help of his younger brother. Asaba, this piece of wood, I didn't take such a good opportunity. I gave me such a romantic opportunity in vain. One of the younger brothers said, Boss, I think we came out too early. The romantic atmosphere of the two of them was destroyed by our appearance, so that's why. Shiba Ganju asked suspiciously, is that so? Should be. Shiba Ganju kicked the little brother hard. Then why don't you stop me when I want to come out? ... After Shiba Ganju returned to Shiba's house, Shiba Sora called her into her room and beat her. Ganchuri, can't you see how hard Asaba has been trying to become stronger these days? Asaba wants to get revenge on Aizen Sosuke, so he desperately becomes stronger. You also keep saying that you want to ask the Kuchiki's family for an explanation, but every day you only know how to go to Rukongai to hang out with your little brother. Do you think that Asaba can have the current changes in such a short period of time? Is it out of thin air? Ganju, put away your thoughts and stop disturbing Asaba's practice. Shiba Ganju felt very uncomfortable when he heard the words, not because he was blamed by Shiba Sora, but because of his own guilt. Asaba's achievements today may not only be due to talent, but also due to Asaba's own unremitting efforts. In terms of effort, his Shiba Ganju really can't compare to Asaba. If he Shiba Ganju is not from the Shiba family, one of the four nobles, he is born with strong spiritual power and a good Reiatsu. How could he have the qualifications and strength to bring a group of younger brothers to Rukongai every day to seek justice? Yes, sister, I know, I won't disturb Asaba anymore, and I will cultivate well myself. Shiba Kong nodded in relief. Okay, go back to your own room. In the days that followed, Shiba Ganju no longer went to Rukongai and his younger brother to seek justice every day, but worked hard to practice his master's Shiba house spells. Another 10 days passed. Successful drawing of the knife, Reiatsu plus 0.3. Host successfully drew his sword 3 million times and received the reward for drawing the sword, the fourth Shikai form. Call. Asaba took a deep breath. Finally, the fourth form of Zanpakuto is also opened. Asaba's Reiatsu at this time also reached the level of vice captain. If Asaba removes the Reiatsu weight carrying gear he is wearing, Reiatsu will reach the level of a terrifying general captain. At this time, it was less than 10 days before Aizen Sosuke's mutiny. Sitting cross-legged, Asaba entered a state of saber meditation and came to the Zanpakuto space. Asaba stands in the void space. At this time, the four directions with Asaba as the center are all lit up. Asaba probed his mind into the true north space, and was sucked in an instant. When Asaba regained his vision, he found him standing in the sky above the boundless sea. In the center of the sea, when Asaba looked at it, a basalt looked up at Asaba. The turtle said, "Asaba, if you want to know my real name, you still need to pass my test." Sure enough, there was another test. Xuanwu hasn't explained what its test is, but Asaba guesses that it has something to do with Suzaku's exclusive skills. Asaba asked, "I don't know what the test is. Use your master's vermilion sparrow power to set this sea of spirit on fire before it completely drowns you." Xuanwu is composed of black tortoises and black tortoises. The ones who spoke just now and now are all black tortoises. After Zon Turtle finished speaking, he vomited to the sky. Immediately, a sea of spirits with a radius of 10 miles is centered on Asaba, slowly submerging towards Asaba. Asaba can perceive the powerful spiritual power contained in the sea water. This is a sea of spiritual power composed of spiritual suns, so it is called the Sea of Spirits by the mysterious turtle. When Linghai was spit out by the mysterious turtle, a Zanpakuto covered in flames appeared in front of Asaba. It is the Suzaku after liberation. Asaba stretched out his hand to hold the liberated Suzaku in his hand, and the aura on his body suddenly changed. Asaba's Reiatsu climbed to the super captain level before stopping, just like when Suzaku Baihu tested Asaba. Asaba now temporarily gets the Reiatsu that Xuanwu gave him, and now has an infinite firepower state. Asaba looked at the sea of spirits that was slowly drowning towards him, and kept thinking about countermeasures in his mind. Suzaku mainly blesses my speed. At this time, the Linghai is slowly submerging me in all directions. No matter how fast I am, I can't escape. That is to say, the speed of Suzaku's blessing is useless at this time. Then, if you want to break the Linghai predicament, you have to use another ability of Suzaku. In addition to Suzaku's blessing on Asaba's speed, when Asaba uses the liberated Suzaku to slash the target, multiple slashes will ignite the target's spiritual power. Perhaps, this spirit sea can also be ignited. Asaba held the Suzaku, his figure flashed, and because of the blessing of speed, he almost instantly arrived in front of the sea of spirits that was shrinking towards the center. Brush, 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 ... Asaba kept swinging his sword and slashing at the sea of spirits. When Asaba slashed nearly 10 times in a row, the place where the Linghai was slashed by Asaba really burned. Asaba looked at the flames being extinguished by the waves behind and hurriedly stepped back. No, this is just a drop in the bucket. This sea of spirit will definitely drown me before I ignite it all. Can't it be broken? Linghai kept shrinking and submerging towards Asaba. Asaba held the liberated Suzaku in his hand, and while slashing at Linghai, he kept retreating toward the center, and at the same time, he thought about the solution. In the end, the range of Asaba's activities was less than 10 meters. Another minute passed. The radius is less than 7 meters. What to do when Asaba can move within a radius of less than 1 meter? Suzaku's voice echoed in Asaba's mind. Asaba, my ability is to control the burning fire. Can't you even ignite the spirit sea that is only 10 miles in diameter? What should I do? Asaba asked inwardly. Asaba, feel the true power of the unyielding flame on the blade with your heart. Put your mind into the flames covered by the knife. After an unknown amount of time, Asaba suddenly opened his eyes. I see. Asaba covered his Reiatsu all over the Suzaku sword he liberated. After Asaba covered Reiatsu on the Suzaku sword, because of the infinite firepower mode, his own Reiatsu was quickly replenished. Then, Asaba continued to cover Reiatsu towards the Suzaku blade. After repeating this a few times, the Reiatsu covered by the Suzaku sword reached an extremely terrifying level. The flames covered by Suzaku were also excited and jumped, as if they couldn't wait to ignite everything around them. The horror Reiatsu covered by Asaba spreads, covers, and oppresses in all directions from the Suzaku blade. The scope is the entire Linghai. The fire burns the sky. As Asaba sang softly, seeing the spiritual sea that was about to drown Asaba, it was instantly ignited with Asaba at the center. The fire burns the sky. This is Suzaku's exclusive skill. It can ignite everything within the range, especially the spiritual power. The strongest fire attribute of Soul Society, Zanpakuto, is Ryujin Jaka of Yamamoto Genyazai Shigekuni. It is said that Yamamoto Genryuzai Shigekuni, with all his strength to liberate Ryujin Jaka, can turn the entire Soul Society to ashes. And Asaba's Suzaku, as long as Asaba Reiatsu is enough, the fire can be ignited even if the sky is released. That is to say, Zanpakuto, the strongest fire attribute, is no longer the Ryujin Jaka of the chief captain Yamamoto Yuanyujai, but the Suzaku of Asaba. Of course, now Asaba's Reiatsu is far from a match for Yamamoto's Motorianai Shogun. The power of Suzaku that Asaba can exert is far from the power of Ryujin Jaka exerted by Yamamoto. Moreover, Asaba wants to use Suzaku's exclusive skill, the fire to burn the sky to set the sky on fire, but I don't know what level Asaba's Reiatsu has to achieve to do it. That's right, as expected of my master, so quickly mastered Suzaku's raging fire. My ability is to control the dark virus. My name is Xuanwu. After Asaba passed the Xuanwu test, Xuanwu informed Asaba of its real name. So far, Asaba has unlocked all 4 Shikai forms of Zanpakuto. They are Qinglong, Baihu, Suzaku, and Xuanwu. But, at this time, Asaba did not withdraw from the Xuanwu space after learning Zanpakuto's real name as before. Asaba, you have now mastered the exclusive skills of Azure Dragon, White Tiger and Suzaku. My Xuanwu's exclusive skills, but you don't have a master yet. At this time, it was the black snake wrapped around the mysterious turtle who spoke. Asaba said, I don't know how I can master your exclusive skills. Asaba, free me here. After the black snake finished speaking, it disappeared in front of Asaba with the black turtle. At the same time disappearing, and Asaba held the liberated Suzaku in his hand. But, in front of Asaba, a transparent Zanpakuto appeared. It is the unliberated state of Asaba Zanpakuto. Asaba, liberate me here now. After Xuanwu informed Asaba's real name, Asaba knew Xuanwu's liberation language in his heart. This is Xuanwu space, is it really liberating Xuanwu? Since Xuanwu asked Asaba to do this, Asaba did not hesitate, took Zanpakuto in his hand, and sang softly in his mouth. Defense peerless, Xuanwu. As Asaba shouted the liberation language, the form of Zanpakuto in Asaba's hand changed. The handle of the knife turned into a curved snake-like shape, and the blade of the knife turned into a turtle shell. The blade, which was originally transparent, turned into a black body, and there was a black mist all over it. After Asaba liberated Xuanwu, because it is still in a state of infinite firepower, Reiatsu has not changed. But Asaba knows that after liberating Xuanwu, he can also triple Reiatsu. In addition, Xuanwu will strengthen Asaba's defense by a factor of 10. When Asaba uses the basalt to attack the target, it will be highly poisonous. Asaba uses basalt to hit the target multiple times, which can poison the target. Asaba, perceive the black mist on the blade. Asaba plunged his mind into the black fog, knowing that these black fogs were poisoned by poison. Asaba, do you think these black mists are just poisonous? Try to cover Reiatsu on the black mist and cover you all over. When Asaba did so, he was overjoyed. Asaba discovers that his Reiatsu has disappeared. To be precise, it was hacked by Mist Shinobi, and it was completely hidden. That's right. By covering the whole body with this black mist, you can completely hide Reiatsu, and no one can perceive it. Isn't this the effect of the spiritual cloak? After applying the Kido bent light on the spirit mask, it can also achieve the effect of invisibility, and even the sound will not be detected. Asaba thought, if he applied bent light to himself in this state, wouldn't he also be able to achieve the effect of wearing a spiritual mask that applies bent light? Too bad Asaba doesn't know Kido bent light, otherwise he'd have to try it right away. See if it is really as he guessed. Black Snake said, this is one of my Xuanwu's exclusive skills, hidden pressure. Asaba asked suspiciously, one of the exclusive skills? Yes, my Xuanwu has another exclusive skill. This time, it was Zon Turtle who spoke again. I also have an exclusive skill called Zon Yu. After Zon Gui finished speaking, Asaba directly knew how to use Zon Wu's other exclusive skill, Zon Yu. Asaba held the Xuanwu backhand in his hand, with the tip of the knife pointing down, and then let go. Under the urging of Asaba Reiatsu, Xuanwu revolves continuously around Asaba. This is Zan Yu. Zan Yu can automatically defend against all incoming attacks, even the Reiatsu oppression of Asaba by others. Moreover, Asaba can release to others. Of course, the defense strength is determined by the Reiatsu that Asaba covers on the Xuanwu. The stronger the Reiatsu that Asaba covers on the Xuanwu, the stronger the Xuanwu's defense. Xuanwu consists of a mysterious turtle and a black snake. Hidden Pressure is the exclusive skill of Black Snake, which can completely hide Asaba's Reiatsu. Zan Yu is the exclusive skill of Zan Turtle. As long as Asaba Reiatsu is strong enough, it can be called Absolute Defense. After Master Asaba acquired the two exclusive skills of Xuanwu, he withdrew from the Xuanwu space. Count the time, Rukia Kuchiki will be discovered by Soul Society in a few days. The fact that she gave the power of Shinigami to Kurosaki Ichigo will be known to the Soul Society. Byakuya Kuchiki should be about to take Abarai Renji to this world and take away the Shinigami power that Kurosaki Ichigo got from Rukia Kuchiki. Bring Rukia Kuchiki back to the Soul Society and accept the Central 46 verdict in the guise of Aizen Sosuke and others. Aizen Sosuke, you are plotting to frame me, aren't you afraid that I will hinder your plan to capture Hogyoku? Then I just want to stop it from showing you. Aizen Sosuke, with me Asaba, you want to get Hogyoku, I'm afraid it's not that easy. After Asaba made up his mind, he found Shiba Sora. Sister Kong, can I ask you two favors? Shiba Kong nodded. Tell me, Asaba, what do you want me to help you with? Seeing that Shiba Kong still didn't know what he wanted her to do, Asaba agreed directly, feeling moved in his heart. The first one, I hope Miss Kong Hee can teach me Bent Light of Kido 21. Kido Bent Light is just an auxiliary Kido. If you want to learn Kido, I can teach you all the Kido I know. Shiba Konghee's Kido is very strong. Shihuin Yoruichi, the former captain of the 2nd Division, has praised Shiba Konghee's Kido. If there is time, Asaba is naturally willing to learn all Kido. But Asaba doesn't have that much time now. Stewardess Crane, I just want to learn Bent Light for now. That's it. Bent Light, Kido, serial number 21. It is considered a low-level Kido, and even a normal Shinigami is not difficult to learn. Asaba draws his sword for the ultimate Reiatsu control bonus. So it only took Asaba half an hour to fully master Kido Bent Light. Asaba, your Kido talent is really amazing, even I am not as good as myself. Shiba Sora was a complete master Bent Light at first, but it took nearly a day. And Asaba, it only took half an hour to become a complete master. Asaba, Kido's improvement to Shinigami is actually the biggest. Kido, it can be used for both attack and defense, and it can also be used to control opponents and heal injuries. I know that you are now pursuing stronger power. You can first learn Hado, the powerful attack in Kido, and I can teach you the rest of Hado except for Hado after a few 90 serial numbers. Asaba said, thank you Miss Kong, but it's enough for me to learn Bent Light temporarily. After I solve Aizen Sosuke's matter, I will definitely come to Miss Kong to ask Kido for advice when I have time. Seeing that, Shiba Sora Suru didn't force it. Okay, then I will teach you all the Kido I know. If you are interested in the spells of my Shiba family, I can also teach you. The magic of the Shiba family cannot be passed on. Shiba Kong is willing to pass the Shiba family spells to Asaba, which shows that she really regards Asaba as her family, her younger brother. Sister Crane, I would like to ask you to do me one more favor. Tell me, what do you want me to help you with? Asaba said, I hope Miss Kong will help me open the gate to the real-world Karakura town. I will go to Karakura town. 2 hours later, after the preparations of Jinyan and Yinyan, Shiba Kong helped Asaba open the gate of crossing the world to Karakura town. Asaba, this is the gate that I opened with Kido. When you go through the broken world to Karakura town, there is no hell butterfly to lead the way. When you are in the passage, it is even more likely that you will encounter arrests in the boundary. You must be careful. Asaba nodded. Then, without hesitation, he stepped into the piercing gate. Shiba Kong looked at the slowly closing gate of the realm. She could only pray that Asaba didn't have an accident in the realm. Sister, don't worry, it's just to pass through the boundary. With Asaba's ability, nothing will happen. Since Shiba Ganju made Asaba his idol, his view of Asaba has changed drastically. In the eyes of Shiba Ganju, there is nothing that Asaba can't do. After Asaba entered the cut-off passage, everything went smoothly, and he did not encounter any detentions or arrests. After a few minutes, a traversal gate opened somewhere in Karakura town. A figure stepped out of the door and landed on a wire pole. It was night, and looking up from below, the moon just reflected behind the figure, which was quite artistic. This figure is naturally Asaba. This is my third visit to Karakura town. Asaba stood on the telephone pole, and after sensing it for a while, he jumped towards the east. Asaba kept jumping on the roof, all the way to the east of Karakura town. There, Asaba sensed several Reiatsu of varying strengths. Karakura town is huge, but not many people have Reiatsu. One is visored, but they all stay in a secret base, an old factory. And the skeletons used by the visored people in Karakura town were specially customized by Urahara Kazuki to isolate Reiatsu. There is a powerful barrier outside their base, which cannot be sensed and entered by ordinary people. Even if the Technology Development Bureau of the Soul Society searched with all their strength, they could not perceive their existence. One is from the Urahara store. They also use special skeletons. The rest are the Kurosaki Ichigo family and the Ishida Yuryu family. And Inoue Orihime and Sato Yasutora, who drew the power of Fullbring out because of their proximity to Hogyoku in Rukia Kuchiki's body. 1 hour later, Asaba arrives near Kurosaki's house, in the alley where he was rescued by Rukia Kuchiki from a false mouth. I really miss it. About 2 months ago, I was still the weakest and weakest person here, who could bully the weakest and the weakest. Now, if I encounter the inferior phantom, I can kill it without any effort. 10 minutes later, Asaba arrives outside Kurosaki Hospital. Asaba sensed Kurosaki Ichigo's Reiatsu in Kurosaki Hospital. Kurosaki Ichigo is still at home, and the Reiatsu on his body is still there, which means Byakuya Kuchiki and Abarai Renji have not come to Karakura town yet. Fortunately, I caught up. Okay. Asaba turned to look not far away. I saw a door open there. It is through the gate. 2 figures came out of the gate of crossing the world. It was Byakuya Kuchiki, the captain of the 6th division, and Abarai Renji, who had just been promoted from the 11th division to the vice-captain of the 11th division about a month ago. Captain Kuchiki, according to the information provided by the Technology Development Bureau, the boy who stole the power of Rukia Shinigami lives in this area. When Abarai Renji spoke, his eyes were full of anger. If it wasn't for the boy who took Rukia Kuchiki's Shinigami power away, Central 46 would not have ordered him to come to life with Byakuya Kuchiki and escort Rukia Kuchiki back to the Soul Society trial. To know, giving the power of Shinigami to someone in this world without authorization is a first-degree felony. What is a first-degree felony? Sinners who commit this crime will be imprisoned in the infernal hell at light level, or suffer the punishment of Sokyoku at worst. What is the punishment of Sokyoku? It is at the Shino execution ground in front of the Shrine of Sins, where the Sokyoku, which is usually sealed, is used to execute the prisoner. After the liberation of Sokyoku, it possesses the power of 1,000,000 Zanpakuto. In the Soul Society's thousands of years of history, no Shinigami has survived the execution of Sokyoku. If Rukia Kuchiki is really sentenced to Sokyoku, then there is only one fate for Rukia Kuchiki. That is, die. Byakuya Kuchiki said blankly, I have sensed that young Reiatsu, come with me. After Byakuya Kuchiki stepped aside, he suddenly stopped. Captain Kuchiki, what's wrong? Abarai Renji, who was in a hurry to find Kurosaki Ichigo to settle accounts, saw Byakuya Kuchiki stopped and asked in confusion. Byakuya Kuchiki pointed to Kurosaki Hospital not far ahead and said, the boy lives there, you go first and I will come later. Although Abarai Renji was puzzled, he followed Byakuya Kuchiki's order and headed towards Kurosaki Hospital first. After Abarai Renji left, Byakuya Kuchiki looked at the empty street lights on the left. Come out. As expected of the contemporary head of the Kuchiki family, Kido bent light, he really couldn't hide from Captain Kuchiki. Asaba leaned on the street lamp next to him, releasing the bent light effect on his body. Asaba didn't liberate Xuanwu, just imposed bent light on himself. Therefore, Asaba, who hid his Reiatsu, was discovered by Byakuya Kuchiki, the captain of Shinigami. And Abarai Renji is just the vice-captain. At this time Reiatsu is no longer as good as Asaba. In addition, Abarai Renji focused all his attention on Kurosaki Ichigo in the Kurosaki hospital in front, and did not notice Asaba's existence at this time. Asaba, weren't you expelled from Seraiti? Why did you appear in Karakura town? Byakuya Kuchiki looked at Asaba, who was very calm, and was very puzzled. Asaba said, I'm here, naturally, waiting for Captain Kuchiki. Wait for me. Byakuya Kuchiki frowned slightly. Did you know in advance that I would be here? Since I'm here waiting for Captain Kuchiki, of course I know in advance. Asaba did not hide it, and answered Byakuya Kuchiki truthfully. Byakuya Kuchiki felt Asaba's reiatsu at this moment, and was surprised. When Asaba was kicked out of Seraiti, reiatsu had less than 5 seats. It had only been about 20 days, and Asaba's reiatsu had already reached the level of a vice captain. Asaba's reiatsu at this time was even above Abarai Renji, who had just been promoted from the 11th division to the 6th division vice captain. Abarai Renji's reiatsu is not weak, although it was only the 6th seat of the 11th team. Abarai Renji's reiatsu is a solid vice captain level, even above the average vice captain. Surprised, Byakuya Kuchiki looked at the zanpakuto that Asaba was wearing around his waist. Isn't your zanpakuto taken away by Shinigami of the first team? Asaba replied, my zanpakuto was given to me when I left Seraiti. Although Byakuya Kuchiki wondered why Yamamoto Genyazai Shigekuni did this, he did not doubt Asaba's words. Without Yamamoto's advice, even Kyoraku Shunsui and Unohana Retsu, 2 very senior Shinigami captains with Seraiti qualifications. There is also no right to return the zanpakuto sentence to Asaba by Central 46. Byakuya Kuchiki asked again, Asaba, you came here to let me discover you on purpose, what's your purpose? Asaba smiled and said, why am I here to look for Captain Kuchiki? Of course it's important to talk to Captain Kuchiki. Important matter. Asaba nodded, then said, Captain Kuchiki, you may not believe what I'm going to say next. Byakuya Kuchiki didn't answer, but stared straight into Asaba's eyes. Asaba continued. Aizen Sosuke has been working on a plan, and the purpose of this plan is to get Hogyoku. Hogyoku? Asked Byakuya Kuchiki, who had never heard the word and didn't know what Hogyoku was. It's a long story about what Hogyoku is. I won't explain it here to Captain Kuchiki right now, but Captain Kuchiki and the entire Shinigami of Gotei 13th will soon know what Hogyoku is. Hogyoku is cumbersome to explain, and it involves a lot of Soul Society past events. Like Vizard, such as Ichimaru Jin and Matsumoto Rengaku. Such as Urahara Kazuki and Shihuin Yoruichi. Such as Kurosaki Isshin and Kurosaki Masaki. If Asaba explained each one clearly, I am afraid that it would arouse Byakuya Kuchiki's suspicion even more. Therefore, Asaba did not intend to explain in detail to Byakuya Kuchiki at this time. Asaba, do you think that if you just make up an unwarranted Hogyoku, I will believe you? Asaba had long guessed that Captain Kuchiki would not trust him so easily. Asaba isn't worried about that. Because Asaba knows Byakuya Kuchiki's weakness, that is Rukia Kuchiki. Although I can't explain what Hogyoku is to Captain Kuchiki right now, I can tell Captain Kuchiki what Aizen Sosuke's plan is next. Asaba, I know the grievance between you and the 5th division, do you think I will believe you? Captain Kuchiki, listen to me. Byakuya Kuchiki stopped talking and did not leave. Asaba knew that Byakuya Kuchiki was signaling him to continue. So, Asaba continued. Rukia Kuchiki is the core pawn in Aizen Sosuke's next plan. Really? Byakuya Kuchiki's eyes turned cold as he looked at Asaba, and his hand was already on Zanpakuto. Asaba dared to make a fuss about Rukia Kuchiki. If Asaba could not give him a reasonable explanation, he would not hesitate to attack Asaba and kill Asaba here. Rukia Kuchiki is indeed Byakuya Kuchiki's weakness. He would never allow others to take Rukia Kuchiki and make a fuss in front of him. Although Byakuya Kuchiki's reiatsu was sealed by nearly 4/5, he still had the confidence to kill Asaba. The boy who received the power of Rukia Kuchiki Shinigami was named Kurosaki Ichigo. The meeting between Rukia Kuchiki and Kurosaki Ichigo was not accidental, but arranged by Aizen Sosuke. I know Captain Kuchiki doesn't believe it. After you meet Kurosaki Ichigo, you can ask him his name to see if his name is Kurosaki Ichigo. Byakuya Kuchiki said. Asaba, you arrived at Karakura town before me, and waited for me here in advance. It is not difficult for you to find out the name of the boy who took Rukia Shinigami's power. Asaba disapproved of Byakuya Kuchiki's questioning and explained. Aizen Sosuke arranged for Kurosaki Ichigo and Rukia Kuchiki to meet because Kurosaki Ichigo's identity is not simple. Leader Kuchiki might as well go to Kurosaki Hospital before taking Kurosaki Ichigo and bring Rukia Kuchiki back to the Soul Society. I think Captain Kuchiki will make an unexpected discovery. After Rukia Kuchiki gave the power of Shinigami to Kurosaki Ichigo, the reason why Reiatsu has not been able to restore it is because of her current righteous skeleton. Her skeleton now is very special and can prevent her from recovering Reiatsu, because that skeleton hides the Hogyoku that Aizen Sosuke wants to get. After Captain Kuchiki brings Rukia Kuchiki back to the Soul Society, Central 46's sentence to Rukia Kuchiki must be the punishment of Sokyoku. Moreover, the time of execution will continue to be advanced. Aizen Sosuke will be assassinated on the eve of Rukia Kuchiki's final execution. Asaba paused and continued. Of course, Aizen Sosuke is suspended animation. Byakuya Kuchiki felt that Asaba's words were all nonsense, but Asaba spoke righteously and swears, and he couldn't see the appearance of lying. Captain Kuchiki, I know you think what I'm saying is ridiculous, and it's normal for you not to believe me. I'm telling you this because Rukia Kuchiki once saved me. This is my reward to Rukia Kuchiki. Captain Kuchiki, you don't have to believe my words, but please take my words to your heart. After you bring Rukia Kuchiki back to the Soul Society, you must not let Aizen Sosuke approach Rukia Kuchiki alone. As for the truth or falsehood of what I said before, Captain Kuchiki can wait for the development of the situation and see if the things I said happened, so that we can know the truth of what I said. When Byakuya Kuchiki saw that Asaba stopped talking, he opened his mouth. Asaba, are you finished? Asaba nodded. Now that you're done, please do it. Byakuya Kuchiki didn't believe Asaba's words, but it was about Rukia Kuchiki, so he couldn't be more careful. Although Byakuya Kuchiki didn't believe Asaba's words, he didn't do anything to Asaba either. Captain Kuchiki, can you help open the gate of crossing the realm and take me back to Rukongai? Byakuya Kuchiki stared blankly at Asaba for a few seconds before nodding and helping Asaba open the gate to Rukongai. Asaba walked to the front of the gate, turned to Byakuya Kuchiki and said, by the way, Captain Kuchiki must be careful with Ichimaru Jin and Tusen Kanami, the two of them are with Aizen Sosuke. After Asaba finished speaking, without waiting for Byakuya Kuchiki to respond, he stepped directly into the gate of the world, and the figure slowly disappeared from Byakuya Kuchiki's eyes. Byakuya Kuchiki looked at the slowly closing gate of the world, and his heart was very complicated. He didn't know whether to trust Asaba. On the other side, when Asaba talks to Byakuya Kuchiki, Abarai Renji met Kurosaki Ichigo and Ishida Yuryu in front of Kurosaki Hospital. At this point, Abarai Renji is fighting Kurosaki Ichigo. Ishida Yulong watched the battle and didn't make a move. Before Abarai Renji came to this world, Reiatsu was limited to 4/5. So Abarai Renji was slightly suppressed by Kurosaki Ichigo at this moment. Byakuya Kuchiki did not rush to join the battlefield, but also observed the battle between the two. I didn't expect Kurosaki Ichigo to have such a strong spiritual power in Reiatsu just after receiving the power of Shinigami from Rukia. Kurosaki Ichigo obviously doesn't know how to use the slashing fist to get rid of ghosts, and even Reiatsu can't control the use of it freely, but with his powerful spiritual power in Reiatsu, he can actually suppress Abarai Renji. Maybe, Kurosaki Ichigo's identity is really not as simple as Asaba said. What Byakuya Kuchiki said to Asaba in his heart, he believed a little more. Although Kurosaki Ichigo suppressed Abarai Renji's Reiatsu was restricted, and Shikai had not been used at the moment, the two could not decide the winner for a while. Byakuya Kuchiki did not choose to join the battlefield, but quietly came to Kurosaki Hospital. When Byakuya Kuchiki saw Kurosaki Isshin at Kurosaki Hospital, he immediately understood what Asaba was talking about. I can't believe that Shiba Isshin, the former captain of the 10th Division who disappeared, is here, and he is Kurosaki Ichigo's father. Is it true what Asaba said? Byakuya Kuchiki believed Asaba a little more, but still had doubts in his heart. Just as Abarai Renji was about to liberate Zanpakuto, Byakuya Kuchiki suddenly appeared behind Kurosaki Ichigo and made a closing motion. Sparkling flower. Captain Kuchiki. Renji, You are really useless. To deal with a young man who has just acquired the power of Shinigami, can't use the slashing fist to drive away ghosts, and can't control Reiatsu to fight. Are you going to free Zanpakuto? Now, I have some regrets about transferring you from the 11th Division to the 6th Division as the vice captain. Abarai Renji blushed, and he felt ashamed too. Of course, Abarai Renji was not convinced. Captain Kuchiki, this kid has an abnormal amount of spiritual power, and my Reiatsu is limited to 4/5, so. Byakuya Kuchiki interrupted Abarai Renji coldly. The reason has always been an excuse for the weak. Abarai Renji stopped talking. Byakuya Kuchiki's Reiatsu was similarly limited, but easily defeated Kurosaki Ichigo. This is the gap between him and Byakuya Kuchiki. The reason why Abarai Renji applied to join the 6th Division many times was because of Rukia Kuchiki and wanted to beat Byakuya Kuchiki. It now appears that he still has a long way to go. Kurosaki, how are you? Yuryu Ishida came to support Kurosaki Ichigo, who had fallen to the ground, blood oozing from his shoulders. Yuryu Ishida can sense that Kurosaki Ichigo's Shinigami power is fading. I am afraid that within 5 minutes, all the Shinigami power in Kurosaki Ichigo will be gone. Byakuya Kuchiki just appeared behind Kurosaki Ichigo, using a special Shunpo technique, Sparkle Flower. Sparkling flowers is Byakuya Kuchiki's unique Shunpo technique. When cast, it can not only achieve the effect of Shunpo, but also cause damage to the target. After Byakuya Kuchiki used a sparkle on Kurosaki Ichigo, he cut off Kurosaki Ichigo's sleep. Therefore, Kurosaki Ichigo's Shinigami power will not flow away until it disappears completely. Kurosaki Ichigo stood up holding Zanpakuto, and while he still had Shinigami's power, he wanted to continue fighting Byakuya Kuchiki. Kurosaki, that's enough. Don't you understand? Even if you and I join forces, we will be his opponents if we die. If you keep fighting, you may die. Cough. Kurosaki Ichigo spat out a mouthful of blood, but they're going to take Rukia away. Even if I die, I will never let them take Rukia away. Byakuya Kuchiki's heart moved slightly when he heard the words, but he did not express this emotion. If that's the case, then you're going to die. Saying that, Byakuya Kuchiki pulled Zanpakuto out. Kurosaki Ichigo clasped Zanpakuto with both hands, ready to fight Byakuya Kuchiki to the death. At this time, Rukia Kuchiki came out. After giving Kurosaki Ichigo a distressed look, she walked slowly to Byakuya Kuchiki's side. Brother, I'll go back to Soul Society with you, please don't do anything to Kurosaki Ichigo again. Byakuya Kuchiki then put away Zanpakuto. Kurosaki Ichigo shouted. Rukia, don't go with him. I will protect you. Rukia Kuchiki turned to look at Kurosaki Ichigo. Kurosaki, with your current strength, you can't be my brother's opponent at all. Kurosaki, it's been a pleasure spending time with you, farewell. Rukia Kuchiki knew that she might never see Kurosaki Ichigo again after she was brought back to Soul Society this time. Kurosaki Ichigo looked at Rukia Kuchiki, who followed Byakuya Kuchiki into the gate, and although he was unwilling, there was nothing he could do. For the first time, a thirst for power welled up in his heart. Byakuya Kuchiki opened the gate to Seraiti and closed it. Urahara Kazuki flew here on a white cloth. This white cloth is called a flying carpet and is one of the props developed by Urahara Kazuki. The flying carpet is a white cloth that can fly in the air and can carry several people at the same time. When flying, the flying carpet can change the direction of flight according to the wishes of the user. Manipulating the flying carpet requires the user to inject spiritual power. The flying speed of the flying carpet and the displayed shape are also controlled by the user's wishes. Clog hat. Urahara Kazuki said, Mr. Kurosaki, if you want to save Rukia Kuchiki, come with me. In the boundary, Byakuya Kuchiki asked Rukia Kuchiki next to him, Rukia, when did you meet Asaba? Brother, who is Asaba? All asked casually. Oh. Originally, Byakuya Kuchiki had believed in Asaba more than half. If he confirmed from Rukia Kuchiki's mouth, Rukia Kuchiki really saved Asaba. Then Byakuya Kuchiki will fully believe what Asaba said to him before. Result: Rukia Kuchiki didn't even know Asaba existed. Byakuya Kuchiki thought to himself. It seems that Asaba has been holding a grudge against Division 5 and Aizen Sosuke since he was expelled from Seraiti. He learned the news of Rukia Kuchiki's existence in this world from nowhere, and then came here in advance to inquire about Kurosaki Ichigo's situation, and used this to deceive me. Asaba's purpose is to provoke me and Aizen Sosuke, and use me to deal with Aizen Sosuke. That's a good calculation. Asaba's heart is so vicious, and he dares to use Rukia against me. I should kill him just now and remove the disaster for the Soul Society. If Asaba knew Byakuya Kuchiki and did not believe him, he would have vomited blood in anger. No wonder Rukia Kuchiki. It was Asaba's own negligence that he forgot that Rukia Kuchiki didn't know his name. After Asaba returned to Soul Society, he returned to Shiba's house. Shiba Sora and Shiba Gansu were relieved to see that Asaba returned safely from the present Karakura town. After Asaba returned to Shiba's house, he still went to the woods to continue drawing his sword to become stronger. Shiba Ganju finds Asaba with a curious expression on his face. Asaba, what are you doing here in Karakura town? Asaba said, before I came to Rukongai, my present life was Karakura town. Oh, you miss your home in this world. After the whole soul of the present life is buried in Rukongai, the memory will not be erased. This is the case. After the whole soul arrives in Rukongai, even if it takes a lifetime, it is almost impossible to find relatives or acquaintances in this world in Rukongai. Moreover, when you go to Rukongai, there is almost no chance to return to the previous life. Even if I become a Shinigami and can go to the world, I don't know how much has passed, and it has long been a different person. Yes, Asaba looked at Shiba Ganju, rolled his eyes, and said, by the way, when I went to the world, I just found out some news. Shiba Ganju was immediately interested. What news? Didn't you ask me about Rukia Kuchiki before? What, did you meet Rukia Kuchiki in this world? I saw Rukia Kuchiki from a distance in the present world being escorted back to Soul Society by the captain of the 6th Division, Byakuya Kuchiki, as if Rukia Kuchiki had committed some first-degree felony in the present world. First-degree felony, Shiba Ganju said with a smile, deserving it. Asaba, I still have something to do, I'll go first. Asaba watched the back of Shiba Ganju leave, and the corner of his mouth twitched. Shiba Gansu went in the direction of West 1st Street, apparently to find out about Rukia Kuchiki in Seraiti. Right now, all I have to do is wait at Shiba's house for Yoruichi to come with Kurosaki Ichigo and others. Then invade Seraiti with them. The next day, Shiba Gansu has returned from West 1st Street. He found Asaba with a smile on his face, clearly confirming the news of Rukia Kuchiki. That, Rukia Kuchiki, is said to have given the power of Shinigami to someone in this world without authorization. Central 46 has put Rukia Kuchiki on trial. She will be sentenced to Sokyoku in a month's time. Rukia Kuchiki's current execution time is 1 month away. But, Asaba knew that Aizen Sosuke would keep shortening Rukia Kuchiki's execution time. The final execution time is only a few days away. Originally, Kurosaki Ichigo still needs to spend time to stimulate his own Shinigami power, which is not in time to rescue Rukia Kuchiki. However, when Kurosaki Ichigo and others come to the Soul Society, they will encounter surprises. In this way, the time for them to come to Soul Society is advanced. That is, within 2 or 3 days, Kurosaki Ichigo and others will arrive at Soul Society. Ha ha ha, although I can't avenge my brother myself, it's really relieved to see her end so miserably. Asaba knowingly asked, Ganuji, do you have a grudge against Rukia Kuchiki? Only then did Shiba Gansu express the grievances between the Shiba family and Rukia Kuchiki. My brother Shiba Kyan, the previous head of our Shiba family, is a super genius. It only took my brother a year to graduate early from the True Central Spiritual Arts Academy with extremely good grades. After that, it didn't take long for my brother to become the vice captain of the 13th Division. Unfortunately, my brother was killed by that Rukia Kuchiki more than 100 years ago. Although Shiba Kuchiki didn't know the real truth of the year, she had learned from Jashiro Yukitaki that Shiba Kyan's death had nothing to do with Rukia Kuchiki. Shiba Kuchiki only knew that Shiba Kyan was actually killed in the hands of Shu, and he was Zanpakuto who ran into Rukia Kuchiki himself. He didn't know that Shiba Kyan was actually killed indirectly by Aizen Sosuke. Shiba Ganju was completely unaware and still thought that Shiba Kyan was killed by Rukia Kuchiki. Asaba doesn't explain it either. This matter is not only the heart of the Shiba siblings, but also the heart of Rukia Kuchiki. Let's wait until after the Aizen Sosuke incident, and they'll figure it out on their own. Shiba Konghei's right arm was broken at the elbow. The lead man did not explain the specific reasons in the comics. However, there are two guesses for reference. One explanation is that Shiba Kong was cut off with the power of old age when Shiba fought with the virtual. Therefore, Shiba Sora's arm could not be restored, and only a prosthetic limb could be used. This was suggested by some Shinigami fans on the forums. According to them, similar plots have appeared in the comics. But Asaba did not find any relevant content in the comics. Another explanation is that Shiba Sora was informed of Shiba Kayen's accident. She went to Kuchiki's house and wanted to settle accounts with Rukia Kuchiki. As a result, his arm was cut off by a master of the Kuchiki family. This is the plot in Shinigami's official novel, which can be verified. As for whether it is a great setting, it is unknown. I remember Inoue Orihime's ability to regenerate a severed limb. Inoue Orihime, who once helped Grimjow heal his amputated arm due to a mistake. When Inoue Orihime and Kurosaki Ichigo and others come to Shiba's house, let her try. Inoue Orihime does have this ability, but Asaba is not sure whether Inoue Orihime's current ability reaches this level. But it does not matter if it is not achieved, as long as it is determined to be feasible. After Inoue Orihime's ability is reached, let her help Shiba Kuzuru heal his arm. Shiba Gansu first told Asaba the news of Rukia Kuchiki, and then happily found Shiba Kuchiki and informed Shiba Kuchiki of the news of Rukia Kuchiki. Sister, why do you look unhappy? Shiba Kuchiki dodged his eyes and said, Rukia Kuchiki hasn't given us an explanation to Shiba's family, so she was sentenced to Sokyoku just like that. It's cheaper for her. Asaba returned to Soul Society for the second day. Shihu and Yoruichi in Black Cat form arrived at Soul Society with Kurosaki Ichigo and others. They first went outside the Beta-Imen and wanted to break into Seraiti directly through the Beta-Imen. Although Kurosaki Ichigo defeated the guard of Beta-Imen, Yuanbansi Danfang. According to his pre-war agreement with Kurosaki Ichigo, Ichibanzi Danfang opened the White Road Gate. When Kurosaki Ichigo and the others were about to enter Seraiti, the captain of the 3rd Division, Ichimaru Jin, arrived. Ichimaru Jin slashed the opening of the door, and Kurosaki Ichigo and others were blocked from the White Road Gate. Aizen Sosuke, who arrived later, glared at Ichimaru Jin, who squinted without explaining. Aizen Sosuke chuckled lightly and didn't ask any further questions. Aizen Sosuke learns that Kurosaki Ichigo and others have come to Soul Society. He was afraid that Kurosaki Ichigo would disrupt his plans. Aizen Sosuke decided to bring the execution time of Rukia Kuchiki earlier. Kurosaki Ichigo and others failed to enter Seraiti through the White Road Gate, so they found Shiba's house under the leadership of Yoruichi. Asaba, who was drawing a sword in the woods to become stronger, sensed Kurosaki Ichigo and the others coming, and the corners of his mouth twitched. Kurosaki Ichigo and others have come to Shiba's house, and the real good show is about to be staged. Aizen, my first real showdown with you is about to begin. With me here, you can't easily capture Hogyoku. Inside Shiba's house, Yoruichi informed Shiba of the purpose of this trip. After some hesitation, Shiba Sora agreed to Yoruichi's request. Yoruichi goes to find out what's going on inside Seraiti. Shiba Sora and Shiba Gansu are instructing Kurosaki Ichigo and others in their spiritual power release training. The spiritual power release training is to help Kurosaki Ichigo and other masters inject spiritual power into Shiba's special cannonballs to create the skills of spiritual power cannonballs. This is to prepare for the subsequent invasion of Seraiti. The next day, Yoruichi came back with bad news. Rukia Kuchiki's execution time was brought forward several times by Central 46. After 3 days, Rukia Kuchiki will be taken to the Moro execution ground. Rukia Kuchiki will be sentenced to Sokyoku there. The next morning, Kurosaki Ichigo finally learned to make psychic cannonballs. It's not that Kurosaki Ichigo has poor qualifications, but that his own spiritual power is too high to control. Shiba Sora is also ready. Shiba Kuzuru instructed Jinyan and Ginyan to call Kurosaki Ichigo and others to Shiba's backyard. Here, there is a fort with a radius of several meters. In the center of the fort is a firing barrel that is more than 10 meters high. After Kurosaki Ichigo and the others arrived at Shiba's house, Asaba kept drawing a knife in the woods. Rukia Kuchiki is about to be sentenced to Sokyoku, and Kurosaki Ichigo and others are under great pressure. They've been busy, learning how to make psychic bombs. There is no time to pay attention to Asaba, who is drawing a knife in the woods. Therefore, although Kurosaki Ichigo and others knew about the existence of Asaba, they did not know who Asaba was. At this time, Shiba Kuzuru introduced Asaba to Yoruichi and others. Yoruichi, his name is Asaba. Asaba, Yoruichi, in black cat form, looked at Asaba carefully. She finds Asaba's Reiatsu to be pretty good, but she doesn't have any impression of Asaba. This time, Ganju and Asaba will go to Seraiti with you. Asaba's strength is very good, and it should be able to help you a little bit. Yoruichi, who had been staring at Asaba, asked, "Why did you invade Seraiti with us?" Asaba raised the Zanpakuto in his hand. "I was originally the third seed of the 4th division, and Aizen Sosuke plotted to frame me and expelled me from Seraiti. I'm going here, naturally, I'm going to settle accounts with Aizen Sosuke." Yoruichi looked at Shiba Sora and nodded when he saw Shiba Sora. "Then come with us." Yoruichi naturally knew about Hogyoku, and knew that the biggest enemy this time was actually Aizen Sosuke. Yoruichi felt relieved when he learned that Asaba was going to find Aizen Sosuke to settle accounts. The enemy of the enemy is the friend. Asaba's Reiatsu is really good, above the squad vice captain. This trip can indeed help them a lot. Kurosaki Ichigo came over with Shiba's special cannonball when he learned that Asaba was going with him. Yoruichi, "Asaba, you haven't practiced making psychic shells, is that okay?" Shiba Sora said it before. Everyone who entered Seraiti together this time must master the creation of spiritual cannonballs. Kurosaki Ichigo, who finally mastered this skill, looked at Yoruichi and Asaba with some show-off. Chapter 51. Yoruichi jumps on the special cannonball and injects spiritual power into the special cannonball. With the special cannonball at the center, a psychic membrane covering Yoruichi's body appears. This is the psychic cannonball. Yoruichi snorted lightly and looked up at Kurosaki Ichigo. "For me, it's as simple as eating and drinking." Inoue Orihime and others were immediately stunned. Especially Kurosaki Ichigo, whose jaw nearly dropped to the ground. He practiced hard for nearly 2 days, and he barely learned it an hour ago. Yoruichi, who was just a cat in Kurosaki Ichigo's eyes, did it with ease. This hit Kurosaki Ichigo hard. Yoruichi shoveled his claws and shoveled the shit out of the special cannonball to Asaba's feet. Asaba kicked and hooked, and the special cannonball fell into his hands. Asaba injects spiritual power into a special cannonball in his hand. Then, a psychic membrane that enveloped Asaba appeared. Asaba nodded. "It's really simple." A string of black lines appeared on the heads of Inoue Orihime and others, and Kurosaki Ichigo was petrified on the spot. After Shiba Sora made a gesture, he slapped the wall of the launch tube. A passage for people to enter and exit appears. This is one of the Shiba house spells. "Everything is ready, it's almost dawn, you go into the cannonball launcher." After Asaba and others walked in one after another, the channel on the wall of the launch cylinder disappeared. Shiba Kong was outside the launch tube and sprinkled a circular powder ring. Subsequently, Shiba Sora used gunpowder to connect the powder ring to the launch tube. After doing all this, Shiba, who was standing on the turret, spoke loudly. "When it's dawn, it's when the spiritual cannonballs are fired. This time I will send you to Seraiti, and I will use the flower crane shooting method. Get ready." In the launcher, Yoruichi jumped on the special cannonball after hearing Shiba Sokaku's voice. "It's about to start, everyone will inject spiritual power into special cannonballs together." As Asaba and others put their hands on special cannonballs to inject spiritual power, a psychic membrane covering Asaba, Kurosaki Ichigo and others appeared. There is still a little time before dawn. Yoruichi, who was standing on the special cannonball, said, "Ichigo, Inoue, Ishida, Sato, remember, our mission this time is to rescue Rukia. All your actions should be aimed at this, and remember not to fight with the Shinigami of Seraiti. If you encounter a captain-level Shinigami, you must find a way to escape. You guys at this time can't be the opponent of Captain Shinigami. If you encounter a vice-captain-level Shinigami, you should also be more careful. If you can avoid and resolve it, try not to fight with it. Kurosaki Ichigo and the others nodded cautiously after hearing Yoruichi's words. After Yoruichi explained to Kurosaki Ichigo and the others, he looked at Asaba again. Aizen, as the captain of the 5th Division, are you sure you want to trouble him? Asaba's face was full of determination. So what, I'm not easy to bully. Asaba, when you get to Seraiti, be careful yourself. As the golden sunlight shone on the fort, Shiba Sora, who had been waiting on the fort, turned serious. Yoruichi, I'm going to start. Yoruichi responds to Shiba Sora, who is outside in the launch tube. Let's start. Shiba Sora was once a Shinigami, when the Shiba family was expelled from the Seraiti. Shiba's Zanpakuto was not taken back, she habitually pinned her Zanpakuto behind her back. After Shiba Kuzuru got Yoruichi's response, he pulled out Zanpakuto with his left hand. Brush. Holding Zanpakuto, she played a useless but very handsome sword flower queen. Clang. Shiba Sora knelt down on one knee facing the launch tube, inserted Zanpakuto into the turret, and still held the hilt in his left hand. Shiba's spell, similar to Kido. When using it, you need to sing incantations. At this time, Shiba Kong started to sing the mantra of the flower crane shooting method. The other side, the desire of red copper wants to be controlled by 36 degrees. 72 pairs of illusion, 13 pairs of horn flutes. Shiba Sora released the handle of the knife with his left hand and stood up. She took 3 steps toward the launch tube, her prosthetic right hand held high. The right hand of the ape caught the stars. As Shiba Sora chanted the spell, she was wrapped around her head. The bandage-like cloth was untied from her head and kept wrapping around her right hand. Puff. After the cloth wrapped around Shiba Sora's right arm, it turned out to be his own kind of flame. Embrace the 25 rounds of the sun, the cradle of sand really bleeds. Shiba Sokaku clenched his burning right hand into a fist as he continued to chant the incantation. Boom. Shiba's flaming right fist hit the turret, instantly igniting the powder ring that had been sprinkled earlier. The flames continued to spread along the powder line connecting the launch pad. After a few seconds, a line of fire appeared on the launcher. The line of fire continued to burn from the bottom and climbed towards the muzzle. Empty crane launching method to the blossom of detention. Boom. Bang. With a loud bang, Asaba and the others, who were shrouded in a spiritual film in the launch tube, were blasted out by the launch tube and flew vertically into the air. This is the second flower of the Shiba family's flower crane shooting method. The spiritual cannonball that wrapped Asaba and the others climbed vertically up to a certain height. Instead of continuing to climb upwards, he made a right-angle turn and flew away in the direction of Seraiti. The flower of restraint is divided into 2 stages. One is to climb vertically upwards. One is to control the flight speed and direction of the spiritual cannonball by chanting the follow-up password of the flower of restraint. Shiba Kuzuru asked Shiba Gansu to follow Kurosaki Ichigo and others to Seraiti. On the one hand, it was Shiba Gansu who wanted to ask Rukia Kuchiki for an explanation of what happened back then. On the one hand, it is because the flower of restraint needs to sing the following password. The fate of 3 sparrows, the fate of 4 dragons, there is no way in 5 directions, and there is no return in 6 miles. Tianfang, stars, spoons, elm sticks. Thousands of meetings, wisdom, and white clouds. I lean toward the sun and don't step on the fiery red shadow. Although Kurosaki Ichigo reluctantly learned to inject spiritual energy into Shiba's special cannonball to create spiritual cannonballs. But Kurosaki Ichigo's control of his own spiritual power is really worrying. Either he injected too much spiritual power, or the injected spiritual power could not be equal to Asaba and others. This caused little trouble for Asaba at all. Although there were bumps along the way, fortunately, we arrived outside Seraiti smoothly. Seraiti is surrounded by walls made of murderous stones. Murder stone is a rare ore that can completely block Reiki and Reiatsu. No matter how strong your Reiatsu is, you cannot break through the walls made of murderous stones around Seraiti. All around Seraiti, except for the murderous stone wall. Seraiti's Shinigami also uses special means. Let the murder stone wall emit a shield that covers the sky above and below the Seraiti. The protective shield formed by the murderous stone is Seraiti's mask. The soul mask is issued by the murderous stone, and it can also completely block Reiatsu and Reiatsu. After Kurosaki Ichigo and others failed to enter Seraiti from Beta Iman, if they wanted to invade Seraiti, they had to break through the soul-shrouding membrane. That's why Yoruichi asked Shiba Sora for help. Let Shiba Kong use Shiba's magic to break the soul-covering membrane and send Asaba and others into Seraiti. Dang dang, dang dang, dang dang. Throughout Seraiti, an alarm bell that has not been sounded for nearly 100 years is sounding. Gotei 13 Shinigami in Seraiti at the same time the alarm bell rang. They all heard the voice from the first team, Chojiro Sasaki. This is Chojiro Sasaki, the vice captain of the first team, using Bakudo no 77 Sky Ting Kong Luo to give an urgent notice to Gotei 13th Shinigami. Please pay attention to each team, please pay attention to each team, please pay attention to each team. An unknown energy body is found in the east of the soul-shrouding membrane, and the energy body is about to hit the soul-shrouding membrane. Several Reiatsu with varying strengths are detected in the soul-covering mask, which is suspected to be an invasion by misfortune. Please go to their respective garrison areas immediately. Please pay attention to each team, please pay attention to each team, please pay attention to each team. An unknown energy body was found in the east of the soul-covering mask. This stopped after Chojiro Sasaki made 3 consecutive announcements. And the alarm bell of early warning rang incessantly throughout the Seraiti. A tense atmosphere permeated the entire Seraiti. Each division Shinigami looked up into the sky while rushing to the garrison area of each division. I saw outside the soul-shrouding membrane above the east side of Seraiti. An energy ball visible to the naked eye is moving at a high speed towards the soul-shrouding membrane. The energy ball has not yet collided with the soul-shrouding membrane, but the Shinigami have already sensed a strong impact from it. Boom! Under the watchful eyes of Shinigami, the energy ball slammed into the soul-shrouding membrane above Seraiti. Hum, hum, hum. Immediately, one after another shock wave continued to spread from the impact. In one breath, break through the soul-covering membrane. After Yoruichi finished speaking, he poured a large amount of spiritual energy into the special cannonball. Asaba et al. Naturally followed suit. Click, puff. Finally, amidst the stunned Shinigami, the energy ball squeezed in from outside the soul-shrouding membrane. Right now, Asaba and others successfully invaded Seraiti, the 5th Division garrison area. Looking up at Aizen Sosuke in the air, he adjusted his glasses. What a clever trick! Breaking through the soul-covering membrane, but not destroying the soul-covering membrane, is indeed a spell of the Shiba family. Kurosaki Ichigo, you are here anyway. However, I won't let you spoil my plan. What? There was a hint of surprise in Aizen Sosuke's eyes. This is Asaba's Reiatsu. Asaba, you don't hide and become stronger by drawing your knife in a way I can't understand. Right now, Reiatsu is only at the level of a vice captain, so he is eager to seek revenge from me. You are still too young. Aizen Sosuke thought, if Asaba dared to come to him. If he kills Asaba again, Asaba will never survive. The 3rd Division garrison, Ichimaru Jin squinted to the sky. When Kurosaki Ichigo and others wanted to break into the White Road Gate, he deliberately arrived before Aizen Sosuke. He then slashed the Beta Iman guard, preventing Kurosaki Ichigo and others from entering Seraiti. Ichimaru Jin is to save Kurosaki Ichigo and others. Kurosaki Ichigo, you are special and have infinite possibilities. But don't lose your life in this matter. Ichimaru Jin has been with Aizen Sosuke for nearly 100 years and naturally knows the identity of Kurosaki Ichigo. After Asaba et al. Invaded Seraiti, the spiritual power membrane could no longer support it and burst open. Asaba and others were blown away by the storm caused by the explosion of the spiritual membrane. Except for Asaba, who can stand in the air by condensing his spirits under his feet, and Yoruichi, who transforms into a black cat. Kurosaki Ichigo and the others fell uncontrollably toward the ground. After Yoruichi glanced at Asaba, he condensed the spiritual child under her claws and walked towards the ground. Just as Asaba sensed Aizen Sosuke Reiatsu, Inoue Orihime screamed and smashed onto Asaba. When Sato Yasutora fell, he threw Inoue Orihime, who had fallen with him, to Asaba. Yes, I'm sorry. Inoue Orihime hurried away from Asaba. However, Inoue Orihime, who does not stand with a fulcrum condensed under his feet, is not. After leaving Asaba, dropped towards the ground. Ah! Asaba silently grabbed Inoue Orihime, then pulled her into his arms, and slowly fell to the ground in his arms. Because of the burden of Inoue Orihime, Asaba had to give up his plan to go directly to Aizen Sosuke. Inoue Orihime's face suddenly turned red. But it was Asaba who held her hand and grabbed her a few times. Although it feels great in the hand, Asaba now regrets it. Seeing that Inoue Orihime did not speak, Asaba did not explain. Although Inoue Orihime didn't speak, his impression of Asaba became extremely bad. She felt that Asaba was an extremely frivolous person, and decided in her heart. After she fell to the ground, she left Asaba and went to find Kurosaki Ichigo and others. After a few minutes, Asaba fell to the ground holding Inoue Orihime. Inoue Orihime broke free from Asaba's arms the first time. You must have your own business to do. In order not to disturb you, I want to find Kurosaki and the others. Asaba sensed that Ishida Yuryu's Reiatsu was not far away, and nodded. I sense that your partner is not far away, I'll take you there. Inoue Orihime has just awakened from the present, and he still can't use his Reiatsu senses to find people. If she went to find Kurosaki Ichigo and others by herself, she didn't know when she would find it. So she nodded to Asaba. Inoue Orihime is afraid to stay with Asaba. Why doesn't Asaba feel that Inoue Orihime is a burden? Come with me. After Asaba finished speaking, he walked in the direction of Reiatsu, which he sensed, Yuryu Ishida. After a slight hesitation, Inoue Orihime followed Asaba nervously. Inoue Orihime put his hands together in front of his chest, secretly looking at Asaba in front of him from time to time. She was afraid that Asaba would take her to some remote place and do something indescribable. 5 minutes later. What? Inoue Orihime didn't pay attention and bumped into Asaba's back, who suddenly stopped in front of him. She hurriedly apologized to Asaba. Yes, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to, Asaba ignored Inoue Orihime and looked at the alley ahead with a sullen face. When Inoue Orihime also looked forward, I saw a man walking out of the alley. It was a small girl, Shinigami, with her hair slightly wrapped in a tie. On the team badge she wore on her right arm, there was a big 5 character on it. Below the 5 characters is an abstract horse drunk wood. Inoue Orihime did not know who was coming, but Asaba did. Vice Captain of Division 5 Hinamori Momo. Hinamori Momo looked at Asaba resentfully, the anger in her eyes did not hide at all. Asaba, I want you to kill for your life. Asaba sneered, looking at Hinamori Momo with disdain in his eyes. Asaba's current Reiatsu level is above the Vice Captain and below the General Captain. Hinamori Momo's Reiatsu level is only average among Vice Captains. Even if Asaba doesn't remove the Reiatsu loaders, the Reiatsu level is above Hinamori Momo. What's more, Asaba still has all kinds of whole cards. Hinamori Momo is no match for Asaba at all. Inoue Orihime looked at Asaba for a while. She couldn't help but take 2 steps back to keep her distance from Asaba. Hinamori Momo came to seek revenge for Asaba's murder. Unexpectedly, Asaba is not only a frivolous person, but also a bloodthirsty person. No, I must stay away from Asaba in the future, Inoue Orihime thought to himself. Hinamori Momo sees that Asaba doesn't answer and pulls Zanpakuto out. She held the handle of the knife in both hands, the point of the knife pointed towards Asaba. The body bowed slightly, and the killing intent was Ling Ran. Asaba turned to look at Inoue Orihime beside him. You step aside first. After I solve this trouble, I will take you to find your friend. Inoue Orihime ran to the side. Asaba invaded Seraiti with her. Arguably, she should have fought alongside Asaba, but she has a very bad impression of Asaba right now. She felt that Asaba was frivolous and murderous, so she didn't know who to help. Asaba was unaware of Inoue Orihime's thoughts. If Asaba knew, he would be very depressed. Didn't he just catch her a few times out of the blue, and that's it? Asaba, not only did you not help Mizi when she was in a rut. Naoko complained to Central 46 on behalf of Miko, and you held a grudge and killed her brutally. You are also provoking the majesty of my 5th Division and disrespecting Captain Aizen. Asaba, today, I'm going to kill you here. I want to avenge Miko and Naoko, and I want to teach you a lesson for Captain Aizen and the 5th Division. After Inoue Orihime heard Hinamori Momo's words, he immediately regarded Asaba as a big bad guy. A lot of nonsense. No matter what you are looking for, don't beep if you want to do it. Asaba watched the disdain in Hinamori Momo's eyes deepen. Hinamori Momo was furious. Okay, I'm just as you wish. Hinamori Momo, with red eyes, slashed towards Asaba with Zanpakuto in hand. Clang! The Zanpakuto in Hinamori Momo's hands fell on Asaba with a crisp sound. Hinamori Momo's all-out strike was unable to break through Asaba's Reiatsu defense. What? Why can't I cut you? Hinamori Momo slashed at Asaba with all his might. Asaba looked at Hinamori Momo with teasing eyes, because you are trash. Ah! Clang clang. Hinamori Momo kept slashing at Asaba, making Inoue Orihime beside him startled. Her little head, she couldn't understand how. Asaba stood there and did nothing, why Hinamori Momo couldn't cut Asaba. She clearly sensed the extreme oppression on her from Hinamori Momo's Zanpakuto. Seeing that she couldn't cut Asaba, Hinamori Momo fluttered and stepped back. She can become the vice captain of the 5th division, although there is an element of being used by Aizen Sosuke. But Hinamori Momo, in addition to being easily exploited, is not really mediocre. A Reiatsu defense similar to Captain Zaraki. Holding the unsheathed Zanpakuto, Asaba fired a slash at Hinamori Momo. Between the waves of Asaba, a sword that was half a meter wide immediately slashed towards Hinamori Momo. Hinamori Momo was shocked, it was Komamura Sajin's sword-pressing attack. Asaba can not only defend Zaraki Kenpachi's Reiatsu, but also attack Komamura Sajin's sword pressure. Bakudo number 39 Round Gate Fan. A bright white oval defense Kido appeared in front of Hinamori Momo, trying to block Asaba's sword-pressing attack. Kacha. Hinamori Momo was startled again at the constant cracking of the circular gate fan. Although she is chanting destruction, the sequence she uses is the defense Kido of 39. But what Hinamori Momo is best at is Kido. Hinamori Momo sings the abandoned round gate fan, and its defense is no worse than the round gate fan used by other Kido masters to chant incantations. As a result, her round gate fan was unable to defend against Asaba's understated sword pressure. Hinamori Momo would be understandable if Asaba was a Captain Shinigami. But in Hinamori Momo's perception, Asaba's Reiatsu is only a little better than her. Brush. Hinamori Momo saw that the round gate fan could not defend against Asaba's sword pressure attack, and hurriedly used Shunpo to dodge. At the same time, Hinamori Momo exudes her body Reiatsu without hesitation. She pressed Reiatsu towards Asaba and Inoue Orihime beside him. Inoue Orihime doesn't know who to help. However, Hinamori Momo clearly regards Inoue Orihime, the traveler with Asaba, as an enemy. Inoue Orihime, who was originally standing against the wall, suddenly felt a strong sense of oppression pressing down on her body. For the first time, she faced the oppression of Reiatsu. I just felt that it was difficult to breathe, and my face became extremely pale. Only then did she know that Hinamori Momo was stronger than she thought. Bloom. Fame. Her Reiatsu roughly doubles as Hinamori Momo sings Liberation. Inoue Orihime felt more pressure from Reiatsu, and at this point she had difficulty moving. The form of Zanpakuto in her hand also changed accordingly. Originally, the Zanpakuto in Hinamori Momo's hand had a pink oval handle. The katana is in the shape of a handguard with the pattern of a samurai sword, and the blade is also in the shape of an ordinary samurai sword. Now, the Zanpakuto in Hinamori Momo's hands is shaped like a 7 sword, with only 3 branches. There is a pink halo around the 3-sword blade, and there are many pink plum petals flying nearby. Inoue Orihime on the side looked at Zanpakuto after the liberation of Hinamori Momo, with brilliance in his eyes. She only thought that Hinamori Momo's Zanpakuto was beautiful, but she didn't know that it was covered with Hinamori Momo's killing intent. This killing intent of Hinamori Momo is not only aimed at Asaba, but also at her Inoue Orihime. Fame is a Kido-type Zanpakuto that can attack targets at medium and long distances. Fame's blade can fire a fireball attack and can be used in conjunction with some other Kido. After liberating Zanpakuto, Hinamori Momo started attacking Asaba with fireballs. Since direct slashing cannot break Asaba's Reiatsu defense, use her Zanpakuto Kido-type abilities to attack. Facing the fireball flying towards him, Asaba slowly pulled Zanpakuto out of his hand. Inoue Orihime stared at Zanpakuto, who was pulled out of Asaba's hand. Asaba Zanpakuto's blade is completely transparent, and it is also extremely beautiful. Both Hinamori Momo and Asaba are completely different from Kurosaki Ichigo's machete-shaped Zanpakuto. Brush. With a wave of his right hand, Asaba cut the fireball in half. The two halves of the fireballs fell in two directions, and when they hit the building, they immediately caused a huge explosion of flames and produced a powerful hurricane. The Seraiti building at the center of the explosion turned into a spiritual sun and annihilated. Another fireball flew towards Asaba. Asaba slashed the fireball with another sword. Hinamori Momo constantly uses fireballs to attack Asaba, along with other Kido. Asaba was standing and slashing at the fireballs that were coming at him. The reason why Asaba was not in a hurry to fight back was because Asaba was touched. After Asaba liberates Suzaku, Zanpakuto attributes fire. Asaba has a feeling in his heart, just like the sword pressure of his master Komamura Sajin, Asaba can also be the fireball of master Hinamori Momo. I see. Asaba's eyes lit up. He already knew how to attack with fireballs after liberating Suzaku. Okay. Asaba stared at the fireball flying towards Inoue Orihime, and his expression froze. Inoue Orihime looked at the fireball flying towards her and screamed. She tried to use her full show defense, but she was pinned down by Hinamori Momo with Reiatsu. Her reaction was a beat slower, and it was too late to use her ability defense. Inoue Orihime had just seen the power of those fireballs. She knew if she was hit by a fireball, she is sure to die. Asaba appeared in front of her just in time to cut through the fireball that was flying towards her. Hinamori Momo looked around and saw that the buildings here had changed beyond recognition when she was bombarded by the fireball that Asaba unfurled. Only the back of Asaba and Inoue Orihime are still intact. Hinamori Momo pointed his hand to Inoue Orihime. Sure enough, when you cut off the fireball I attacked just now. You deliberately control the flying direction of the chopped fireball so that the fireball does not hurt her. Hinamori Momo did not answer in front of Inoue Orihime, thinking that he had found Asaba's weakness. But I don't know that Asaba didn't fight back just now, just to learn fireball from her. Inoue Orihime's nose twitched after hearing Hinamori Momo's words. It turns out that Asaba has been silently protecting her, and she has always felt that Asaba is a bad person, and even thought about helping Hinamori Momo deal with Asaba together. Asaba, I'm sorry. Why are you apologizing? Asaba glanced back at Inoue Orihime in confusion. Did Inoue Orihime realize she was a burden? Pretty self-aware, Asaba thought. When Asaba turned back to talk to Inoue Orihime, Hinamori Momo fired several fireballs in succession. Inoue Orihime found out that those fireballs were targeting her. Immediately, she had no good feelings for Hinamori Momo at all, and even more guilt towards Asaba. Asaba kept waving Zanpakuto in his hand, cutting off all the fireballs from Hinamori Momo. Subsequently, Asaba changed the Zanpakuto, which was originally held in his right hand, to his left, and dabbed the transparent knife with his right hand. The flames burn my body, I am self-nirvana, Suzaku. This is Suzaku liberation language. The hilt in Asaba's hand has changed from an unmarked pattern to a phoenix. There are a few more phoenix feathers floating around the knife. The blade, which was originally transparent, turned into a vermilion color and was covered with flames. Meanwhile, Asaba's Reiatsu has tripled. After Hinamori Momo liberated Fame, Reiatsu was on a par with Asaba, even a little better than Asaba. At this moment, Asaba's Reiatsu is infinitely close to the level of a captain. In the case of Reiatsu, Hinamori Momo was crushed by Asaba, who liberated Suzaku. Hinamori Momo stared at Zanpakuto in Asaba's hands. She remembered that Asaba Zanpakuto was not like this after liberation. When Aizen Sosuke used Kyoka Suigetsu hypnosis Hinamori Momo and Naoko, Asaba also liberated Zanpakuto. Hinamori Momo clearly remembers that after the liberation of Asaba's Zanpakuto, he was a blue dragon with the thunder attribute. How now? After Asaba liberates Zanpakuto, is it a fire-type Suzaku? Also, Hinamori Momo thinks back at this moment. The Asaba she faced at this time, whether it was the fighting style or the way of doing things. They were completely different from the Asaba she had dealt with Naoko at the gate of the 5th Division. What exactly is going on? When Hinamori Momo was in a daze and couldn't figure it out, a fireball several times larger than the one she used before flew towards her. This fireball is exactly Asaba's move based on Hinamori Momo's fireball, Master. Hinamori Momo used several fireballs to hit Asaba's fireballs, causing a huge explosion between the two's fireballs. The hurricane caused by the explosion made Inoue Orihime, who was hiding behind Asaba, face so much pain that he had to put his hands in front of his face. Hinamori Momo and a Shunpo dodged to the side, the two fireballs exploded in front of her, and she looked rather embarrassed. She looked at Asaba with shock. The fireball used by Asaba is not only several times the size of her fireball. The power is even more, crushing her fireball. If Hinamori Momo knew. The fireball just now was just Asaba's attempt at a new move. Less than a third of the injected Reiatsu. I wonder what Hinamori Momo thinks. Not bad. The power of the fireball did not disappoint Asaba. Asaba waved the Suzaku in his hand and fired another fireball. This fireball is 3 times bigger than the fireball that Asaba used before. Now that Asaba has mastered fireball, there is no need to continue playing with Hinamori Momo. So, Asaba goes all out. Hinamori Momo's pupils clenched, she knew she couldn't resist the fireball. Hinamori Momo hurried to dodge with Shunpo. But just as she appeared, another super great fireball appeared in front of her. Asaba actually predicted where her Shunpo would appear. She didn't have time to use Shunpo again to dodge. Are you done? Deep unwillingness flashed in Hinamori Momo's eyes. She regretted taking the risk to fight Asaba. Boom. The fireball exploded. The aftermath of the explosion made Inoue Orihime completely unable to open his eyes. If she hadn't been in Asaba's way in front of her, she would have fallen backwards at this moment. Is she dead? Inoue Orihime asked after the explosion died down. Asaba replied, no. After the aftermath of the explosion dissipated, Inoue Orihime saw 2 more people here. It was Kira, the vice captain of the 9th Division, and Matsumoto Rengaku, the vice captain of the 4th Division, who arrived in time. The two worked together to save Hinamori Momo from Asaba's fireball. Although Hinamori Momo was rescued, he was also seriously injured. Her body was almost dyed red by her own blood, and blood was still oozing from her mouth, looking extremely miserable. Peach, hold on. Kira has a good relationship with Hinamori Momo. He is very anxious when he sees that Hinamori Momo is seriously injured. Rengaku, please take Hinamori Momo to the 4th Division for treatment, and I will contain Asaba and this travel disaster. Hinamori Momo looked at Kira weakly and said, shallow. Asaba is strong, strong. Cough cough. Hinamori Momo spat out a mouthful of blood. You don't have to worry about me, let's deal with Asaba together first. Peach, you are seriously injured now and must be treated immediately. While Hinamori Momo talks to Kira and Matsumoto Rengaku, Asaba took Inoue Orihime's hand, pulled her hard, and pulled her into his arms. What? Inoue Orihime thought that Asaba was going to take the opportunity to wipe the oil again, but heard Asaba say, more and more Shinigami are coming here, we have to get out of here now. The battle between Asaba and Hinamori Momo caused a lot of movement. Besides Kira and Matsumoto Rengaku, there are more Shinigami on their way. In Asaba's perception, Ichimaru Jin and Aizen Sosuke were almost here. If you are trapped here, it is very troublesome. After Asaba liberated Suzaku, Reiatsu's speed increased by 3 times, and his speed was also increased by 10 times. At this moment, Asaba holds Inoue Orihime at full speed. Puff! Inoue Orihime, who was held by Asaba in his arms, suddenly heard the sound of something being pierced nearby. She clearly felt Asaba's body trembling slightly, and the hand that held her tightened a little. But Asaba's speed didn't slow down, instead it was a little faster. She put her hand towards Asaba's back, and she found that Asaba's back was soaked wet. When she retracted her hand and raised it in front of her eyes, she realized that her hand was covered in blood. Asaba, are you injured? Put me down, and I'll heal you. Asaba didn't stop, just now, but it was Ichimaru Jin and Aizen Sosuke who arrived at Hinamori Momo after Asaba left with Inoue Orihime. In order to act in front of Aizen Sosuke, Ichimaru Jin freed Shinso and used Shinso's abilities to attack Asaba. Ichimaru Jin's Reiatsu level is infinitely close to Super Captain. Having liberated Zanpakuto, he easily broke through Asaba's Reiatsu defense. Asaba looked seriously injured, but Asaba was not in serious trouble. Ichimaru Jin attacked Asaba with measure, and his attack deliberately avoided Asaba's point. Inoue Orihime saw that Asaba refused to stop, and blood continued to ooze from her back, so she asked Asaba with a crying voice in a hurry. Asaba, you are seriously injured, stop and let me treat you. It's all useless for me, I'm not busy with anything, and I'm dragging you down. Woo woo woo, I thought you were a big badass before. Ha, a string of black lines appeared on Asaba's head, and he was speechless. Inoue Orihime thought he was a big bad guy. Asaba, please stop and let me heal you. Asaba didn't want to explain. He saw that Inoue Orihime was really crying, so he spoke. I'll get rid of those Shinigami who are chasing. Those who chased Asaba were ordinary Shinigami. After half an hour. This stopped after Asaba was sure that Aizen Sosuke and Ichimaru Jin were not chasing after him. Aside from the captaincy, the rest of the Shinigami were nothing to fear from Asaba. After Asaba took a blow from Ichimaru Jin, he realized that there was still a big gap between him and the real captain. Asaba is now facing both Ichimaru Jin and Ichimaru Jin, who are all out. Even if all the cards are out, Asaba may only have a dead end. After Asaba stopped, he took Inoue Orihime and hid into an alley. Inoue Orihime begins treating Asaba with her full bloom. Asaba then remembered that he forgot one thing. He forgot to ask Inoue Orihime to treat Shiba Sora's arm. But no big deal, there will be opportunities in the future. Asaba felt the power of Inoue Orihime to heal her. Whether it is the speed of treatment or the efficacy, it is obviously above the general Kaido. Go to hell. A tall figure suddenly appeared behind Inoue Orihime, who was squatting to treat Asaba. The visitor looked grim. When he appeared, he held a large Zanpakuto in both hands and chopped it down at Inoue Orihime. Inoue Orihime turned her head in astonishment, only to see a large Zanpakuto growing in her eyes. What? Inoue Orihime was so frightened that she forgot to use her full bloom to defend against Shun Liuhua. Asaba hugged Inoue Orihime and rolled aside. Boom. The large Zanpakuto in the hands of the person who came, chopped at the place where Inoue Orihime was before. Inoue Orihime looked directly at the large Zanpakuto, which was deeply sunk into the ground, full of fear. If Asaba hadn't taken her away in time, she might have died by someone's knife. Oh, with such a serious injury, you can still lead someone to avoid my slash. But Asaba, you're seriously injured. You look stupid and weak for this trip. Hey, you two are dead today. After killing both of you, my exploits at Seraiti will be added. Inoue Orihime listened to the other party's words, only to realize that the wound on Asaba's back was still bleeding. She wanted to treat Asaba, but no one gave her a chance. Boom. Tall Shinigami strikes again, mainly targeting Inoue Orihime. Asaba stepped aside with Inoue Orihime, then looked at the tall man coldly. As expected of the most despicable Shinigami, I was taught. Originally, Asaba was skeptical of the title of Shinigami, the most despicable Shinigami of Yosakajirobo. After personal experience, Asaba felt that the locks and slumbers of Yulong Ishida were originally destroyed by Yulong Ishida. Thus losing the power of Shinigami, it is too cheap for him. Always Sakaji Longfang should die. Yiguazaka Salangfang is the 4th seat of the 7th Division and the younger brother of the Beta-Iman Guard. He is nearly 3 meters tall and has a burly physique. After he liberates Zanpakuto's real name. His Zanpakuto is different from the rest of the Zanpakuto according to the soul he infused, but it is a large Zanpakuto. Call me despicable, Asaba, you traitor to the Soul Society, and this traveler who dared to invade Seraiti, is the real despicableness. Despicable sinners like you two deserve to die. You two, it is an honor for both of you to die in the hands of the strongest Shinigami, me. As Usakaji Longfang spoke, he attacked Inoue Orihime. He knew that Inoue Orihime was weak, so the attack kept targeting Inoue Orihime. After Asaba liberated Suzaku, he never released it. At this moment, Asaba held the Suzaku to meet the attack of Jorufang Azaka. After Asaba slashed Yukiuzaka Jirofang several times in a row, Yukizaka Jirofang suddenly showed an extremely painful expression. The spiritual power in his body was ignited by Asaba's ability of Suzaku. The spiritual power in the body burns, but it is very painful. For a few seconds, Usakaji Longfang was soaked with sweat. After Usakaji Longfang discovered that he was unable to extinguish the burning spiritual power in his body. The reason why Asaba didn't directly kill Yiguazaka Jirofang was because he didn't want the opponent to die too easily. It has always been Sakachi Longfang who bullies the good and fears the evil, and speaks unkindly and is very despicable. Killing him directly is too cheap for him. Before Asaba beheaded him, he planned to use Suzaku's ability to ignite spiritual power to torture Yukasaka Jirofang. Fly your wings and fly high. Split the black. Usakaji Longfang liberated his Zanpakudo. The original large Zanpakudo in his hand became a flying blade. Juzakaji Longfang thinks that his black splitting is the strongest flying weapon. At this moment, he liberates Zanpakudo, but not to use his flying abilities to attack Asaba and Inoue Orihime. Instead, he wanted to use the Reiatsu added after the liberation of Zanpakudo to extinguish the burning spiritual power in his body. However, useless at all. Even if Zanpakudo was liberated by Usakaji Longfang, Reiatsu was still under Asaba. A person whose spiritual power is ignited by Asaba's Suzaku cannot be extinguished unless Reiatsu is above Asaba. Of course, if someone with Reiatsu who is higher than Asaba makes a move, he can also help extinguish the spiritual power that will be ignited by Asaba. Yukasaka Jirofang looked at the flame-covered Zanpakudo Suzaku in Asaba's hands. Knowing the spiritual power burning within him is the ability of Asaba Zanpakudo. Boom! The tall body of Yiguazaka Jirofang knelt down to Asaba with a bang. Asaba, I was wrong, please let me go and put out the fire inside me. The spiritual power of Yosakajirobo keeps burning, and the power of his Shinigami keeps flowing. He knelt down and begged for mercy, where is the arrogance he showed half a minute ago? The reason why he begged for mercy was that he did not want to lose the power of Shinigami, in addition to the pain. Without Shinigami's power, he would have to quit the 7th division. After Usakaji Longfang is no longer Seraiti Shinigami, he will naturally be kicked out of Seraiti and return to Rukongai where he lived before. This is absolutely unacceptable to Usakaji Longfang. Asaba looked at the Yigusaka Salangfang who was kneeling and begging for mercy, without a trace of pity in his heart, but more murderous intent. Does asking for forgiveness mean being forgiven? What other people do Asaba doesn't know and doesn't care, but that doesn't work with Asaba. Brush. Asaba waved Zanpakudo in his hand, and cut off its head in one slash in the eyes of Kusakaji Longfang. Seeing this, Inoue Orihime lay on the alley wall and vomited. When Asaba chopped off the head of Usakajirobo, several figures fell nearby. Matsumoto Rangaku and Kirahu came after him. And Byakuya Kuchiki, who was originally nearby, sensed the battle between Asaba and Usakajirobo and rushed here. Hinamori Momo has been sent to the 4th division by the rest of the Shinigami for treatment. Asaba, how dare you kill Yiguazaka Jalangfang? Kira yelled. Matsumoto Rangaku watched Asaba hesitated, but when she landed, her hand was already on the handle of the Zanpakudo. Obviously, she is ready to fight Asaba anytime. Byakuya Kuchiki radiated his Reiatsu and pressed towards Asaba and Inoue Orihime. Inoue Orihime, who was throwing up on the alley wall, was almost crushed on her vomit. Byakuya Kuchiki's Reiatsu press, compared to Hinamori Momo's Reiatsu press before. Not a level at all. Under the pressure of Byakuya Kuchiki's Reiatsu, Inoue Orihime couldn't even turn around. Asaba also felt a strong sense of oppression, but his actions were not affected. Asaba looked towards Byakuya Kuchiki, doubts flashing in his eyes. Could it be that Byakuya Kuchiki didn't believe what he said in Karakura town? Should not be. On the surface, Byakuya Kuchiki is indifferent to Rukia Kuchiki, but isn't he really nervous about the baby Rukia Kuchiki? After Byakuya Kuchiki knew about Aizen Sosuke's conspiracy against Rukia Kuchiki, there was no reason not to believe it. Asaba couldn't figure it out. Asaba hadn't found out his negligence that Rukia Kuchiki didn't know his name. Byakuya Kuchiki did not believe what Asaba said to him at the time. Especially now that he saw with his own eyes that Asaba beheaded Yugizaka Jalangfang, he was even more convinced in his heart. What Asaba had said to him before was to sow discord. Asaba took advantage of Rukia Kuchiki to use him in the infighting between Byakuya Kuchiki and Aizen Sosuke. And Byakuya Kuchiki also believed that the person who committed the murder at the gate of the 5th Division was Asaba. Byakuya Kuchiki motioned for Matsumoto Rangaku and Kira to step back. You step back, I will personally kill the sinners of this Soul Society. Kira said. Captain Kuchiki, Hinamori Momo said Asaba is strong, let's go together. Okay. While Byakuya Kuchiki looked at Kira, he also pressed his Reiatsu towards Kira. Feeling the pressure of Reiatsu from Byakuya Kuchiki, Kira took a few steps back. He was eager to avenge Hinamori Momo, but neglected Byakuya Kuchiki's fighting power. As the captain of the 6th Division, Byakuya Kuchiki is also the contemporary head of the Kuchiki family, one of the 4 noble families. Byakuya Kuchiki's strength is not comparable to his vice-captain. Just when Byakuya Kuchiki was about to attack Asaba, a figure fell beside Asaba. But it was the 4th Division Captain Unohana Retsu who arrived. After Unohana Retsu fell to Asaba's side, he immediately used Kaido to heal Asaba. Captain Usohana, what do you mean? Captain Kuchiki, Asaba is a member of my 4th Division. But he was the one who committed the murder at the gate of the 5th Division. I was with Asaba that night with Yongyan, Captain Kuchiki, don't you believe me? Byakuya Kuchiki pointed to the corpse of Jorubo, who had fallen miserably to the ground, and said. I saw with my own eyes that he beheaded Yuguosaka Salangfang, who knelt down and begged for mercy. Asaba faced the consistent Sakaji Longfang, who knelt down and begged for mercy and no longer resisted, and killed him without hesitation. Do you think Asaba will let go, Naoko, who wants to be punished by Central 46? Unohana Retsu looked at Byakuya Kuchiki coldly. Naoko was definitely not killed by Asaba. If you, Captain Kuchiki, insist on attacking Asaba today, then fight with me first. Byakuya Kuchiki snorted coldly and pulled Zanpakuto out. Unohana Retsu saw that Asaba's injury had been stabilized by her, and said to Inoue Orihime. You seem to have the ability to heal. Asaba's next injury will be left to you. Byakuya Kuchiki put away the Reiatsu oppression after Unohana Retsu arrived. Not far away, Aizen Sosuke, wearing a bent light spirit mask, flashed a hint of playfulness in his eyes. He turned away, without anyone noticing. He originally wanted to kill Asaba secretly, but Asaba was targeted by Byakuya Kuchiki and many other Shinigami. Now that he was at the last step of his plan, he didn't want the plan to go wrong and decided not to take a shot at Asaba. And Byakuya Kuchiki meets Asaba. With Byakuya Kuchiki helping to contain Asaba, Aizen Sosuke doesn't have to worry about Asaba interrupting his plan for the time being. Unohana Retsu slowly pulled out Zanpakuto and looked at Byakuya Kuchiki coldly. I haven't shot for a long time. It seems that the people of Soul Society have forgotten my original name. As Unohana Retsu spoke, she pressed her Reiatsu towards Byakuya Kuchiki. Boom! Byakuya Kuchiki immediately felt the extreme pressure. Byakuya Kuchiki is the head of the Kuchiki family and the captain of the 6th Division. He naturally knew who Unohana Retsu was before, and knew that Unohana Retsu's strength was actually very strong. But he never thought that Unohana Retsu's Reiatsu could be so strong. Captain Ujiwa, do you really want to help Joe's abuse? Byakuya Kuchiki, if you want to do it, do it. Unohana Retsu's eyes froze. Otherwise get out of the way. Byakuya Kuchiki saw Unohana Retsu's posture and knew that Unohana Retsu was Asaba, so he put away Zanpakuto. Humph! Unohana Retsu saw that Byakuya Kuchiki was not going to shoot. He sensed that more and more Shinigami were coming here, and he said to Asaba. Asaba, get out of here. Asaba's injuries are almost healed, nodding to Unohana Retsu, and leaving here with Inoue Orihime. At full speed, Asaba quickly disappeared from view of Unohana Retsu and Byakuya Kuchiki. Byakuya Kuchiki, Captain Unohana, I'll see how you explain to the captain afterwards. Let's not worry about Captain Kuchiki. Unohana Retsu also took Zanpakuto into the scabbard. Captain Usohana, is it because Asaba was a member of the 4th Division before? You have to be careful to know who you are, but not your heart. Unohana Retsu, I believe in Asaba. Seeing that Unohana Retsu believed in Asaba so much, Byakuya Kuchiki remembered what Asaba had said to him in Karakura town. After Rukia Kuchiki was brought back to the Soul Society by him, the trial of Rukia Kuchiki in Central 46 was indeed the punishment of Sokyoku, as Asaba said. And Rukia Kuchiki's execution time is indeed constantly being advanced by Central 46. This has never happened in Seoul society history. Byakuya Kuchiki thinks it is very suspicious, but the time to execute Rukia Kuchiki is constantly advanced. It was indeed sent to each division by Central 46. Byakuya Kuchiki checked it many times and found that it was not fake. The order issued by Central 46, even Yamamoto Motonuzai Shigekuni, who is the captain, has no right to change it. Naturally, Byakuya Kuchiki couldn't do it either. Could it be that what Asaba told me was true? If Aizen Sosuke really faked his death, it would prove that what Asaba said was true. Byakuya Kuchiki thought to himself. He decided to wait and see. Dang dang, dang dang, dang dang. Seraite's alarm bell was sounded again, resounding throughout Seraite. However, when Asaba beheaded Jorubo Ichizaka, Kurosaki Ichigo also defeated Benkai's 6th Division Vice Captain, Abarai Renji. The Commander-in-Chief Yamamoto Motonuzai Shigekuni issued a full-scale declaration of war warning to Asaba and Kurosaki Ichigo. After the full declaration of war warning was issued, it is said that Gotei 13th completely regards Asaba, Kurosaki Ichigo and others as enemies. All the division captains of Gotei 13 were given permission to fight Asaba and others at will in Seraite. Represents. The power of Gotei 13 will truly be revealed in front of Asaba, Kurosaki Ichigo and others. After the Commander-in-Chief Yamamoto Yuanujai Shigekuni issued a full-scale warning to Asaba and others, the entire Shaolingting atmosphere became more tense. When the Shinigami in the spiritual court were walking, they unconsciously went a little faster. From now on, the captains of the divisions will be allowed to fight against the invading calamity in Jingling Court. 8th Division Garrison Area. Hieraku Shunsui, who was lying on his side on the roof, had a look of helplessness on his face after receiving a full-scale declaration of war. He shook the jug in his hand and looked at Naneo eyes with a sullen face beside him. All lie, it's really troublesome. Why can't those travel disasters just be captured? I hope those calamities don't come to me. Hieraku Shunsui wants to steal some leisure time, but doesn't know. Kurosaki Ichigo and others have already inquired about the news that Rukia Kuchiki was imprisoned in the Palace of Sins. Except for Asaba, Kurosaki Ichigo and others are now gathering in the direction of the Shrine of Sin. The 5th Division garrison is the only way for Sato Yasutora to go to the Sin Palace. At this point, Sato Yasutora has stepped into the 8th Division garrison area. In front of Sato Yasutora, the 8th Division chief. The battle is imminent. The 5th Division garrison area. Aizen Sosuke and Ichimaru Jin stood face to face. Aizen Sosuke had a gentle smile on his face. Silver, you should know what to do next. Ichimaru Jin narrowed his eyes into a line, paused for a few seconds, and then nodded. Aizen Sosuke, however, is going to plan the next step. Time comes tonight. Reiatsu, who has a shallow perception of Kurosaki Ichigo. With Inoue Orihime, Kurosaki Ichigo was found in the Shaolingting underground waterway. Kurosaki Ichigo was bruised and snoring against the wall. He's been through several battles today and is too tired. Aside, Yamada is using Kaido to heal Kurosaki Ichigo. Yamada Hanaduro has been reinstated as a 7th-seat officer since Asaba was expelled from Central 46. Kurosaki, seeing that Kurosaki Ichigo was seriously injured, Inoue Orihime hurried over. Shuangtian returns the shield. Inoue Orihime begins to use her full-bloom ability to heal Kurosaki Ichigo's injuries. The ability of Double Sky Return Shield is to reject all negative states in the enchantment. Inoue Orihime's healing effect using Double Heaven's Shield, even the captain of the 4th Division, Unohana Retsu, can't match. Yamada Hanaduro blushed after seeing Inoue Orihime's methods. He has always felt that he is nothing but Kaido, and now he realizes that his Kaido is not good either. Yamada Hanaduro came to Asaba with surprise in his eyes. Asaba, how are you with them? Asaba laughed, aren't you the same? Yamada Hanaduro recounted his situation. While Rukia Kuchiki was being held in the shrine, Yamada Hanaduro was in charge of cleaning the shrine. During this time, Yamada Hanaduro was touched by the kindness of Rukia Kuchiki. In addition, Rukia Kuchiki once took care of Yamada Hanaduro, who was teased by his seniors. At that time, Rukia Kuchiki was just doing it casually, and he didn't even know Yamada Hanadoru's name. Yamada Hanadoro kept that kindness in his heart. Yamada Toroka is taken as a hostage by Shiba Iwa police and moves with Kurosaki Ichigo. After he learned the purpose of Kurosaki Ichigo and others, he made up his mind to help Kurosaki Ichigo and others rescue Rukia Kuchiki. Yeah, Asaba, are you hurt? Yamada Hanadoro found that the clothes behind Asaba were almost stained with blood. My injury is fine. There will be a more brutal battle tomorrow, so you should rest. Yamada Hanadoro looked at Kurosaki Ichigo, who was sleeping soundly, and nodded. As soon as Kurosaki came to the stagnant spirit court, he was first chased by a group of ordinary Shinigami. He managed to get rid of those Shinigami, only to encounter the third place of the 11th team. Kurosaki Ichigo fought hard and defeated Madarame Makaku. He was chased by ordinary Shinigami again, and finally met Abarai Renji, the vice-captain of the 6th division. The last time Abarai Renji and Kurosaki Ichigo played against each other at Karakura Town in the present world, they showed completely different strengths. At Karakura Town, Abarai Renji was only able to play 1/5 of his strength. Now, Abarai Renji is not only showing his full Reiatsu strength, also used his unfinished Bankai. Kurosaki Ichigo went through a tough fight again to defeat Abarai Renji. After Inoue Orihime healed Kurosaki Ichigo's injury, he did not wake up Kurosaki Ichigo. Asaba did not rest, but kept drawing his sword to become stronger. Time is running out, and a little improvement is just a little bit. Inoue Orihime stared at Asaba, who kept drawing his sword. She didn't know why Asaba kept drawing the knife. The back of Asaba's serious drawing of the sword caused ripples in Inoue Orihime's heart. The time came to the next morning. Dang dang, dang dang, dang dang. The death knell rang throughout Tillington. It was enough to shock the entire Seoul society and spread throughout the Yulin court. Aizen Sosuke, the captain of the 5th division, was killed outside the 5th division captain's room. The 5th division captain outdoor. Hinamori Momo looked at Aizen Sosuke, who was beaten on the wall, and immediately burst into tears. Captain Aizen. No, it's not true. How could Captain Aizen be here, killed by someone? Hinamori Momo, with red eyes, stood there and yelled. Kira looked at Hinamori Momo, who was almost insane, and her eyes were full of distress. Peach, calm down. Captain Aizen is dead. A figure fell. The captain of the 3rd division, Ichimaru Jin, arrived at the scene. He squinted at Aizen Sosuke, who was nailed to the wall. How miserable. The captain of the dignified 5th division was killed outside his own captain's room. Hinamori immediately glared at Ichimaru Jin with pink eyes. CGCF. It's you who killed Captain Aizen, right? Hinamori Momo was about to pounce on Ichimaru Jin, but was stopped by Kira and Matsumoto Rangaku. I'm going to kill you to avenge Captain Aizen. Last night, the team leaders held a brief emergency meeting in the 1st team meeting room. After the meeting, the 10th division captain, Hitsugaya Toshiro, witnessed the clash between Ichimaru Jin and Aizen Sosuke. Similar to the scene where Ichimaru Jin and Aizen clashed, Hitsugaya Toshiro met several times in recent days. Hitsugaya Toshiro finds Hinamori Momo and tells her to watch out for Ichimaru Jin. Hitsugaya Toshi told Lang Hinamori Momo that Ichimaru Jin might be bad for Aizen Sosuke. Hinamori Momo didn't believe it at first, but now he saw Aizen Sosuke killed. 2 murder candidates came to her mind. One was Asaba, but was immediately denied by Hinamori Momo. It is not that Hinamori Momo believed in Asaba's character and thought that Asaba would not kill Aizen Sosuke. Rather, it is believed that Asaba does not have the ability to kill Aizen Sosuke. Another candidate is naturally Ichimaru Jin. Ichimaru Jin saw the tragic death of Aizen Sosuke and made a sarcastic statement. This led Hinamori Momo to conclude that the murderer was Ichimaru Jin. Hinamori Momo pushed Kira and Matsumoto Rangaku away, pulling Zanpakuto out. Bloom. Fame. Facing the captain-level Ichimaru Jin, Hinamori Momo directly freed Zanpakuto. Hinamori Momo held a flying thunder and attacked with a fireball with all his strength, smashing at Ichimaru Jin, who was squinting. Ichimaru Jin still stood still, but Kira stepped in front of Ichimaru Jin. Kira held Zanpakuto in both hands and cut through the fireball that Hinamori Momo had attacked. Boom. The two halves of the fireballs fell to the side, both causing explosions and causing a terrifying hurricane. Peach, calm down. Matsumoto Rangaku also hugged Hinamori Momo from behind. Peach, I know that after Captain Aizen was killed, you feel bad. Captain Aizen is dead, and I think Captain Aizen doesn't want to see you like this either. Peach, you have to accept the reality. The murderer of Captain Aizen is definitely not Captain Ichimaru Jin. You have to calm down. Where would Hinamori Momo listen to Kira's words? He continued to attack Ichimaru Jin with red eyes. In the end, Hitsugaya Toshiro arrived just in time. She knocked Hinamori Momo unconscious, which calmed down. At that time, Hinamori Momo and Kira were imprisoned in the 9th Division prison for fighting without authorization. The squad leaders, after learning of the death of Aizen Sosuke. There are big and small surprises in my heart. The most shocking among them was Byakuya Kuchiki, the captain of the 6th Division. Shurinkting Underground Waterway. Asaba wakes up Yamada Toroka. When Yamada Hanadoro woke up, her face was full of panic. We were found. Yamada Hanadoro senses that there is an extremely strong Reiatsu above the underground waterway. Asaba said, I will lead people away in the future, and you will take them away. However, Reiatsu, who came here, seems to be a captain. Asaba, come with us, you are alone. Yamada Toroka wanted to persuade Asaba to leave here with them through the sewers, and find another safe place to hide. Before Yamada Hanadoro finished speaking, Asaba had already left. Asaba came outside. The sky was still dark and not bright. The person who came to distribute Reiatsu as Asaba was Byakuya Kuchiki, the captain of the 6th Division. Byakuya Kuchiki was not surprised to see Asaba at all. Reiatsu was deliberately emanating to Asaba's perception. Byakuya Kuchiki tried to attack Asaba yesterday, but was stopped by Unohana Retsu. While deciding to wait, he has been secretly following Asaba and the others. So know that people like Asaba and Kurosaki Ichigo are hiding in underground waterways. Asaba smiled and looked at Byakuya Kuchiki with a sullen face. Captain Kuchiki, don't you believe me? Why do you deliberately lead me out now? Byakuya Kuchiki said. Aizen Sosuke was killed outside his own captain's room. Asaba was not surprised by the news that Aizen Sosuke had been killed. Counting the time, Aizen Kuyusuke should feign death for better action. Shallow. Hinamori Momo, deputy captain of the 5th Division, suspects that the murderer is the captain of the 3rd Division Ichimaru Jin, right? Byakuya Kuchiki was startled at first, then relieved. At this moment, he had completely believed what Chian Cheni said to him. Asaba, is Aizen Kuyusuke really fake death? I went to the scene to check the body of Aizen Sosuke, and he is indeed dead. Asaba asked, Captain Kuchiki, do you know the abilities of Aizen Sosuke's Zanpakuto? Byakuya Kuchiki nodded. Kyoka Suigetsu can disturb the mind of the target, causing it to self-inflict and kill. Asaba shook his head. No, that's not Kyoka Suigetsu's real ability. Kindness. Now that Asaba has decided to join forces with Byakuya Kuchiki to deal with Aizen Sosuke. Kyoka Suigetsu's true abilities, naturally, there is no need to hide it from Byakuya Kuchiki. Kyoka Suigetsu's true ability is to perform complete hypnosis on those who have seen his Shikai. Those who are affected by Kyoka Suigetsu hypnosis, no matter how strong Reiatsu is, the 5 senses will be dominated. That is, just be Kyoka Suigetsu hypnosis. After Aizen Sosuke liberates Zanpakuto again, the person who has been hypnosis, the perception of the appearance, shape, quality, touch, smell of a specific object will be manipulated by Aizen Sosuke. Aizen Kuyusuke used this ability to create the scene of his suspended animation. Byakuya Kuchiki was very surprised when he heard the words, and he thought of all kinds of things related to Aizen Sosuke, and many of the previous doubts were suddenly realized. Byakuya Kuchiki is not only not melon, but also sometimes witty. He already completely believed in Asaba, and he asked Asaba just now, just to clarify his doubts. After Byakuya Kuchiki believed Asaba's announcement of Kyoka Suigetsu's true abilities, he understood immediately. It turns out that this is the true power of Kyoka Suigetsu. It's no wonder that Aizen Sosuke wanted to gather all the Shinigami of Gote 13th to one place. Show us the Shikai of his Kyoka Suigetsu, in order to hypnosis us all. Asaba nodded and asked, don't Captain Kuchiki feel that Rukia's execution time has been brought forward? which is not in line with the style of Central 46. Byakuya Kuchiki. Are those orders fake too? Qian shouted. Those orders can be said to be true or false. Well, what do you mean? If I hadn't guessed, the people of Central 46, long before I was expelled from Tillington, were obliterated by Aizen Kuyusuk. Byakuya Kuchiki understood immediately, and he analyzed. Aizen Sosuke used Kyoka Suigetsu's abilities after obliterating the people of Central 46. The people who created Central 46 have been holding the illusion of meeting in the Central Underground Conference Hall. Asaba nodded. Byakuya Kuchiki continued. So, when Captain Unohana personally comes forward to testify for you, Central 46 is still without conclusive evidence that you killed Naoko. But I still suddenly ordered you to be expelled from the Spirit Court. Byakuya Kuchiki paused and continued. That's why Central 46 completely disregarded the face of my Kuchiki family. Directly ordered that Rukia be sentenced to double strength, and the time of Rukia's execution was continuously advanced. Asaba nodded. Byakuya Kuchiki saw that Asaba confirmed his guess, and his face was relieved. So, it all makes sense. But, Asaba, how did you know all this? In this regard, Asaba did not tell the truth. I also happen to know, so Aizen Sosuke expelled me from Yulingting by all means. Asaba's excuse was plausible, and Byakuya Kuchiki had no doubts. I see. Asaba, Yoshizaka Salangfang already knelt down and begged you for mercy yesterday, why are you still beheading him? In this regard, Asaba recounted what Yukisaka Jirofang did at that time. Byakuya Kuchiki said, I have long heard of Yusakaji Longfang's deceiving, rude, and very despicable character, but I didn't expect it to be true. Asaba, you are still too impulsive, even though Yusakaji Longfang. Your grievances have not been cleared, and Yusakaji Longfang is the commander of the 7th Division. No matter what, you shouldn't kill Juzakaji Longfang. Asaba spread his hands and said, kill all the kills, I will follow up with anything. At this time, a figure fell beside Asaba. Asaba, are you alright? Unohana Retsu pulled Asaba and checked Asaba's entire body. He was relieved to find that Asaba was fine. Unohana Retsu stood in front of Asaba, staring at Byakuya Kuchiki. Captain Kuchiki, are you still determined to attack Asaba? Unohana Retsu perceives the reiatsu that Byakuya Kuchiki deliberately exudes. Worrying about Byakuya Kuchiki's shot at Asaba, she hurried over here. Captain Usohana, you misunderstood. Actually, Asaba and Byakuya Kuchiki explain Unohana Retsu. After Unohana Retsu learned the truth, he said, it really is. Byakuya Kuchiki looked at Unohana Retsu suspiciously, not knowing what she meant. When I inspected Aizen's body, I found that his body was abnormal. It turned out that it wasn't the real Aizen Sosuke, but the illusion that he used Kyoka Suigetsu's ability to let us see. Unohana Retsu looked at Asaba and asked, what do we do now? Go straight to Aizen Sosuke to confront him and expose his conspiracy. Byakuya Kuchiki also looked towards Asaba. Do not know why. The two squad leaders, Unohana Retsu and Byakuya Kuchiki, now let Asaba decide what to do next. Asaba said, we've all seen Aizen Sosuke's Shikai, and if we go directly to him, I'm afraid he will use Kyoka Suigetsu hypnosis. We'd better find a way to crack Kyoka Suigetsu first. Unohana Retsu asked, are we really unable to take Aizen's Kyoka Suigetsu? Asaba said, actually, there is still a way to avoid being hypnosis. Any solution? Byakuya Kuchiki and Unohana Retsu both looked at Asaba suspiciously. Since Asaba knows the way, why should he think of other ways to crack it? Asaba said, Kyoka Suigetsu's abilities are ineffective against blind people. As it turned out, Byakuya Kuchiki and Unohana Retsu suddenly realized what they said. This method is too expensive, and it is best not to use it unless it is absolutely necessary. Apart from that, is there any other way? Shallow shouted. There is another way, that is, when Aizen Kuyusuk liberates Zanpakuto, he touches the handle of Aizen Sosuke Zanpakuto with his hand. However, it's too hard for those of us who have seen Kyoka Suigetsu Shikai. Because, since we watched Aizen Sosuke liberate Kyoka Suigetsu, we have been captives of Kyoka Suigetsu. Aizen Sosuke can liberate Zanpakuto at any time and put us into hypnosis. We faced Aizen Sosuke without even knowing when he liberated Zanpakuto, when he started to have hypnosis on us. Asaba is not alarmist. During the Karakura town battle, Hiriko Shinji has been guarding against this. He touched the hilt of the sword when Aizen was liberating Kyoka Suigetsu. But Hiriko Shinji is still known as Kyoka Suigetsu Hypnosis. But it was Aizen Sosuke long before Hiriko Shinji didn't notice it. Kyoka Suigetsu was liberated and hypnosis was performed on Hiriko Shinji. Hiriko Shinji, who has been guarding Kyoka Suigetsu's abilities, has no idea when he was hypnosis. Then what to do? Asaba said. I have a hunch that if I can master it, I will have a way to crack Kyoka Suigetsu's ability. Byakuya Kuchiki said, Asaba, it's only been a month since you released Zanpakuto's real name. If you want to learn it, no matter how talented you are, it's too late. In 2 days, Rukia will be sentenced to Sokyoku, and we don't have time to wait for you to learn how to solve it. Asaba said, I have a way of learning to understand before that. Okay. When Unohana Retsu and Byakuya Kuchiki heard the words, they both said that they were looking at Asaba from a different place. Asaba said, however, this requires the cooperation and help of the 2 captains. Asaba, what do you need me to do? Just say it. Byakuya Kuchiki said. Unohana Retsu also said, that's right, Asaba, please speak up. Asaba said, I can draw a knife and become stronger. As long as I have enough time to draw a knife, it is not difficult for me to learn to solve it. Byakuya Kuchiki looked at Asaba in amazement, apparently in disbelief. It's true, Asaba can really draw a sword and become stronger. Unohana Retsu affirmed. Asaba, can you learn to solve it before the day after tomorrow? Asaba said. Under normal circumstances, I would definitely not be able to do it. However, there is a special way that works. The time density of the boundary is 2,000 times higher than here. If I can go to the boundary to draw a knife, I should be able to learn the solution before the day after tomorrow. Unohana Retsu and Byakuya Kuchiki think it works. So the 3 of them came together and came up with a specific plan. Unohana Retsu and Asaba head to the Broken Realm. Shallow draws a knife in the Broken World and becomes stronger. Unohana Retsu is guarding Asaba, dealing with logistics and possible conflicts. In order not to make Aizen Sosuke suspicious, Byakuya Kuchiki stayed temporarily to cooperate with Aizen Sosuke's plan. Byakuya Kuchiki has another mission, which is to protect Rukia Kuchiki. Although Aizen Sosuke's plan is to use the punishment of Sokyoku to take out the Hogyoku inside Rukia Kuchiki. But Asaba cannot guarantee that Aizen Sosuke will meet Rukia Kuchiki in advance. Will Aizen Sosuke find out in advance how he can take out Hogyoku directly from Rukia Kuchiki's body? Unohana Retsu opened a gate at random. Captain Kuchiki, Soul Society will leave you for the time being. After Asaba learns the solution, he and I will come back as soon as possible. Byakuya Kuchiki nodded. Only then did Unohana Retsu and Asaba step into the piercing gate and go to the breaking world. After Byakuya Kuchiki watched the crossing gate disappear, he rushed towards the Palace of Penance with a sullen face. In the boundary, Unohana Retsu uses the special Kido to stop the flow of yoke in the passage. Asaba began to concentrate and draw his sword to become stronger. With the improvement of Asaba's strength, his effective number of knife draws per minute can already reach 40 times. Call. Successful drawing. Reiatsu plus 0.3. Successful drawing. Reiatsu plus 0.3. Successful drawing. Reiatsu plus 0.3. 597. Asaba has been concentrating and constantly drawing the sword to become stronger. Unohana Retsu has been guarding by the side. Rukia Kuchiki's execution time is noon the day after tomorrow. When Asaba and Unohana came to the realm, the Soul Society time was in the early morning. In other words, Asaba only has about 1 day to stay in the broken world and draw his sword to become stronger. The time density of the boundary is 2,000 times that of the outside world. 1 year in the boundary is equivalent to 2,000 years in the outside world. Therefore, Asaba can be harvested for about 2,000 days in the fault boundary. 2,000 days is enough for Asaba to get the solution reward by drawing a knife. Successful drawing. Reiatsu plus 0.3. The time in the boundary is slowly passing. A few days later, the scavenger arrest suddenly appeared. Asa had to stop drawing his sword for a while to fight Kutu with Unohana Retsu. Every few days, detention will reappear. I don't know how many times the arrest occurred. Successful drawing, Reiatsu plus 0.3. Host successfully draws his sword 10 million times and gets the reward for drawing the sword, one of the solutions. Quote. After drawing the sword 10 million times, Asaba's Reiatsu level has been infinitely close to the level of a general captain. Captain, I am now entering the God of Swords and trying the power of Master's solution. Yunohana Retsu nodded, saying in her heart that she was not surprised. She was originally worried about whether Asaba could master the solution within 2,000 days. Unexpectedly, Asaba touched the threshold of understanding so quickly. After Asaba explained to Yunohana Retsu, he sat cross-legged on the ground. Press the end of the knife with one hand and the support with the other. Concentrate, put your mind into your hands, and fuse Zanpakuto with it. This is the God of Swords. Asaba entered the Sword God state with ease and came to his Zanpakuto space. Asaba stood in nothingness and found that there was no colored light before the space in the due east flashed. Asaba immediately plunged his mind into it. Soon, Asaba was sucked in. The due east position is the Azure Dragon space. In fact, Asaba was a little disappointed when he learned that the solution he first unlocked was Qinglong. Based on Shikai ability, Asaba guessed. He wants to crack Kyoka Suigetsu. What he needs is the ability of the White Tiger after it has been solved. When Qinglong saw Asaba's arrival, he spoke loudly. Asaba, if you want Master's ultimate power, you must defeat me. The so-called ultimate power is Zanpakuto Resolution. The solution is the second stage liberation above Shikai, and it is also called the final liberation. Shinigami wants the Master to understand, not only to make Zanpakuto embodied, but also to make the embodied Zanpakuto surrender. Asaba is rewarded by drawing a knife, though. But before Asaba was the same as when he received Shikai's reward, his desire to be the real Master Qinglong was resolved. Still need Asaba to complete the test of the Blue Dragon. At this time, Qinglong's test of Asaba turned out to be to defeat him. A Zanpakuto with lightning flashing all over his body appeared in front of Asaba. It is the Qinglong after liberation. Apparently, Qinglong wanted Asaba to fight it with the liberated Qinglong. Asaba held Qinglong and took the initiative to attack Qinglong. The battle is imminent. Soon, Asaba finds out that Qinglong didn't really want Asaba to defeat it. Instead, let Asaba fight it through. Let Asaba continue to master the power of Qinglong in the process. Asaba, who was sitting cross-legged in the broken world, opened his eyes. Yunohana Retsu immediately leaned over and asked, "How is it? Did it work?" Asaba asked, "How long did it take me?" 1 month. A month. The power of Asaba Master Qinglong's solution actually took a whole month. Did you make it? Asaba nodded first, then shook his head. Yunohana Retsu asked in confusion, "What do you mean?" Asaba said, "My Zanpakuto actually has 4 liberation forms, namely Qinglong, Suzaku, Baihu, and Xuanwu. Each form has different abilities. Qinglong strengthens my strength, the attribute is thunder, and the attack can be paralyzed. Suzaku, strengthen my speed, attribute fire, attack can ignite spiritual power. Baihu Chang, turns my perception, attribute is wind, attack can break defense. Xuanwu strengthens my defense, the attribute is water, and the attack can be highly poisonous." Yunohana Retsu had doubts about it when he stopped Byakuya Kuchiki from doing Asaba. At that time, she discovered that the liberation form of Asaba's Zanpakuto was different from the form that Asaba showed everyone in the 4th division. She has never asked Qian, and at the same time she is relieved after receiving Asaba's explanation, she is also very surprised. Originally, Yunohana Retsu felt that Asaba's Zanpakuto was very capable. Unexpectedly, Asaba's Zanpakuto has 4 different forms. Each form has a powerful ability. Yunohana Retsu guesses that Asaba's Zanpakuto is probably the strongest Zanpakuto the Soul Society has ever had. As far as I can guess. If you want to break Aizen Sosuke's Kyoka Suigetsu, what you need is the power of the White Tiger after it has been unlocked. And my current master is Qinglongji. Yunohana Retsu asked, "What is your power after the release of the Blue Dragon?" Asa didn't answer Yunohana Retsu, but pulled Zanpakuto out. Bankai, Qinglong. The liberation language is sung as Asaba sings. With a dragon roar resounding through the broken world, the form of Zanpakuto in Asaba's hand changed. I saw Zanpakuto, which was originally transparent in Asaba's hands, turned into a curved blue dragon at this moment. A terrifying thunder and lightning danced on the dragon-shaped blade. The handle of the sword Asaba is holding is the head of the dragon, and the tip of the sword is the tail of the dragon. Behind Asaba, there is a huge blue dragon phantom. Unohana Retsu looked at Asaba at this moment with shock in his eyes. Asaba, after you solved it, your Reiatsu increased almost 10 times. Originally, Asaba's Reiatsu level was infinitely close to a normal captain. At this moment, Asaba's Reiatsu level turned out to be a super captain level. There is also a gap in the Reiatsu level of super captain. At this time, Reiatsu was at the top super captain level. Unohana Retsu is the top super captain, and she doesn't liberate Zanpakuto. The level of Reiatsu is not as good as that of Asaba after the solution, which is enough to see how terrifying the improvement of Reiatsu after the solution. That's right, my Reiatsu will be boosted 10 times after I clear the blue dragon. My strength will be increased by 30 times. In addition to Reiatsu and power boosts, Asaba also mastered Ultimate's Thunder attribute attacks. Now, Asaba can temporarily paralyze the target with just one hit. The paralysis time is determined by the opponent's Reiatsu level. Unfortunately, after the release of Qinglong, although the improvement for me was great, it was unable to break the hypnosis of Kyoka Suigetsu. Unohana Retsu said, "No hurry, there is enough time now." Then I continued to draw the knife. After Asaba released his Qinglong form, he put Zanpakuto in the scabbard and took a deep breath. Call. Asaba concentrated and pulled Zanpakuto out. Successful drawing. Reiatsu plus 0.3. With the improvement of the shallow strength leaves again, Asaba's effective number of knife draws per minute has reached 45 times. Successful drawing. Reiatsu plus 0.3. Host successfully drew his sword 20 million times and received the reward for drawing the sword, the second form of solution. Captain, I'm going to enter the God of Swords again. So fast. While Unohana Retsu surprised, Asaba had sat cross-legged again, entered Blade Zen, and came to the Zanpakuto space. This time, Asaba is due to the west and shines brightly. Asaba, hi. Due to the west, it is the White Tiger space. After Asaba probed his mind into the due west, he was immediately sucked in. After Asaba recovered his vision, he came to the White Tiger space. The White Tiger sees Asaba appear. It said directly, "Asaba, if you want to get my ultimate power, defeat me." A liberated Zanpakuto appeared in front of Asaba, and it was the White Tiger after liberation. Like Qinglong, the so-called test of White Tiger is actually the power to help master Asaba White Tiger to solve himself. Asaba held the liberated White Tiger in his hand and started fighting with the White Tiger. Asaba is in constant battle. It is also slowly mastering the power of Baihuji. In the boundary, Asaba opened his eyes. At this point, Unohana Retsu is fighting against the sudden confrontation. Shallow shouted, "Sister Wa, I succeeded, let's get out of here." Unohana Retsu was overjoyed when he heard the words, and ran towards Soul Society in the broken world with Asaba. After a few minutes, a piercing gate opened somewhere in Pulingting. Asaba and Unohana Retsu came out of the gate. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.